Pirates Full Level System, Chapter 681-700. Chapter 681 Kill Them. Doflamingo and Diamante have black question marks on their faces. Meow meow, the one who was attacked was obviously Doflamingo. Okay, what kind of resentment is there for a sneak attack? If he could, Doflamingo really wanted to press the Orochimaru to the ground and rub it frantically. However, Doflamingo can only think about this kind of thing in his heart, not to mention the Orochimaru, who has mastered the earth escape, and his physical condition does not allow it. The places on both sides of Doflamingo's waist that were bitten by the giant snakes were not injected with toxins, but the wounds were so deep that blood flowed like a faucet. If the blood was put on the blood donation cart, Doflamingo could even get a few blood donation certificates. Excessive blood loss made Doflamingo's footsteps a little vain. For him, the top priority is to stop the bleeding as soon as possible. After saving Doflamingo, Diamante didn't dare to make extra moves to pick things up. He protected Doflamingo by his side. Only one who was chasing after Orochimaru was the monster that the number 9 experiment turned into. After Orochimaru and Doflamingo separated, the monster chose Orochimaru without hesitation. Maybe this is true love. Seeing that the hatred of the monster was completely attracted by the 550 Orochi pill, Laoji and Mahabase looked at each other, and the two heavyweight players turned their thoughts to one another at this moment. Laoji, Mahabase, and the monster blocked Orochimaru in the middle in 3 different directions, seemingly blocking all his escape paths. Orochimaru couldn't help but praise the courageous actions of these two people, but the two turtles just came to block the road of a poisonous snake. This is not what courage is commendable. Just now Orochimaru was still struggling with what to do next, but Laoji and Mahabase immediately sent a friendly reminder. 3 Orochi pills can be said to have completely left the house and were summoned to the world of pirates in a situation of poverty and whiteness. And as soon as he came, he was called by the hateful foreman Chinluo to do research. Orochimaru's army of reincarnation from the dirt has not yet begun to form, and the equipment and cards on his body have not been brought over because of the stingy system. Such a state, Orochimaru's real combat power is half of its peak. It's not impossible to take advantage of the cooperation between Doflamingo and Diamante. Method. But Orochimaru didn't want to just walk away like that, so when he was distressed, Laoji and Mahabase frantically brushed their presence, afraid that Orochimaru couldn't see them. Even if you can't kill Doflamingo, it will make him feel heartache. Dare to swing his hoe to his corner. How can you do it without paying some price, even if that corner is something Orochimaru planned to give up long ago? Killing a few officials of the Don Quixote family is indeed a good choice. Unlike the salted fish who just died, they are just the grassroots members of the Don Quixote family, and no matter how many they die, Doflamingo's heart will not hurt. There is a voice that keeps ringing in Orochimaru's heart. Kill them, kill them, kill them. Orochimaru's snake eyes slid around and quickly swept over the 4 cadres of the Don Quixote family, Diamante, Laoji, Mahabase, and Gladius, who fell to the ground. Because the speed was too fast, neither the 4 cadres nor Doflamingo could react. Soon, Orochimaru had a plan. In the surprise of Laoji and Mahabase, Orochimaru plunged into the vicious monster. The monster's strength is the strongest among the 3 surrounding Orochimaru, and they never thought that Orochimaru would choose to break through the siege from the monster's side. Could it be that Orochimaru is planning to clear the portal and personally destroy the monster that the traitor turned into? No matter what, Laoji and Mahabase would not let Orochimaru move, and the 2 of them immediately surrounded them. Fishman really took the bait. Hearing the movement behind him, Orochimaru muttered in his heart. As long as the fish is stupid enough, even if the hook is straight and salty, some fish will actively bite the line. And that's the case with Laoji and Mahabase at the moment. 2 little white snakes sneaked out of Orochimaru's trousers and hid in the ruins. The monster slashed at the approaching Orochimaru and was evaded by Orochimaru. The aftermath of the attack didn't affect Orochimaru. He stepped on the monster's arm by the way, firmly attached to it with chakra, and ran to the top of the monster's head. The monster perfectly interprets what it means to be crazy and even beat yourself up. After Orochimaru ran to the top of the monster's head, it didn't make the monster throw a rat. After trying a few times, the Orochimaru could not be thrown away, and the monster directly raised a huge stone cone and smashed it at his head. But Orochimaru didn't seem flustered at all. Instead, he turned to look at Laoji and Mahabei, who arrived, with an inexplicable smile in his eyes. With the brain capacity of Laoji and Mahabei, it is impossible to think of a reason. Doflamingo's mind was spinning fast enough, and he had an ominous premonition in his heart. "Be careful," Doflamingo warned hastily. "It's too late." The monster's stone cone approached, and Orochimaru spread her hands. With a bang, the monster successfully smashed itself down, and a piece of debris flew. All are stones, constantly falling from the monster's head. No blood or minced meat can be seen at all. Standing on the monster's head is just a clone of Orochimaru, not even a real body. "Laoji, watch your head." Doflamingo and Diamante's reminder was a step late, and it was unknown when Orochimaru had come to the air above Laoji's head. Destroy the snakes. Orochimaru's sleeves are like a bottomless pit. 9 giant snakes drilled out one after another, and fell from the sky to wrap around Laoji. Laoji couldn't do anything, and another white snake suddenly emerged from the ground. After being attacked twice in a row, Laoji was completely panicked, and was bitten by a white snake that emerged from the ground and charged into the air. Orochimaru and Laoji staggered in the air and separated. Orochimaru fell to the ground with ease, while Laoji was entangled by a group of giant snakes. This is the ultimate luxury version of the snake massage that Doflamingo just had. A full 10 giant snakes bound Laoji's whole body, and a snake head bit down from the back of his head, and the fangs were deeply embedded in his head, breaking his skull. As the giant snakes tightened their bodies further, Laoji heard the sound of bones shattering all over his body. I don't know if it was suffocating or the toxin was spreading. Laoji's only exposed head quickly turned purple. "Young master, you must." Laoji is explaining his last words, but it also depends on whether Orochimaru agrees. As Orochimaru clenched his fists, the giant snakes instantly turned into a ball of sparks and exploded. Chapter 682 Take Away Gladius. The evil snake's wrist explodes. When the summoned giant snake entangles or devours the enemy, it will detonate the giant snake with chakra and inflict heavy damage on the enemy. It's not subtle, but it's very sinister. Explosion is art. No matter how unpleasant Deidara was before, Orochimaru still agrees with his mantra at this moment. Especially seeing Doflamingo's constipation with anger and sad expressions mixed with anger, Orochimaru's mood is even more joyful. There are no bones left. An explosion of this magnitude, Laoji can't keep a complete body. Laoji did not expect that he would confess here. How ironic that a person who practiced Dwangquan, a health-preserving boxing method, hastily ended his life without even stepping into old age. Dwang boxing is a joke at all. It is even more impossible to explain his last words. Orochimaru never felt that he was a good person, and let his enemies die after finishing their last words. This kind of plot will only be released in the movie. This is my gift in return, do you like it? Orochimaru pointed to the monster that experimental number 9 had turned into, and he told Doflamingo clearly that this was the reward for digging into his corner. Doflamingo didn't say a word. His face was gloomy and dripping with water. Diamante gritted his teeth in anger, but he didn't dare to act rashly. On the contrary, he was more alert. He was worried that Orochimaru would continue to attack. Mahabei was so frightened that his combat effectiveness with Laoji was only half a catty. If Orochimaru could kill Laoji, it would not be difficult to kill another Mahabei. The figure burst back to Doflamingo's side, and Mahabei let go of his dangling heart. Orochimaru watched Mahabei retreat without any intention of pursuing him. The 2 white snakes he secretly released, one overshadowed Laoji, and the other hadn't appeared. If Orochimaru was going to take action against Mahabei, more than one Laoji would have been killed just now. Main reason is that Orochimaru doesn't like the greasy fat man Mahabe, who is also a devil fruit person. Gladius in a half-dead state is much more useful than him. And just now Gladius stopped him from killing Doflamingo. As a matter of fact, Orochimaru should take more care of Gladius, whether he is dead or alive. My Don Quixote family is not so easy to kill. Do you know what happened to the last force that killed my family? Doflamingo said. Oh, I'd love to hear about it. Orochimaru gave your story a good look. I grabbed all their relatives and friends, died one by one in front of them, and finally cut them into pieces with a knife. Who are you scaring? Orochimaru doesn't care about Doflamingo's threat, and even looks forward to it. I don't know how the Luyun Palace gang would react when they knew someone wanted to slice them. They must be surprised. Oh then I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you do what you say, Dofu-kun. Orochimaru's eyes contained an inexplicable deep meaning, and by the way, he blessed Doflamingo, wishing him to be able to achieve what he wanted. Another white snake gave Orochimaru feedback at this moment, and it has already arrived at the place. Orochimaru waved at Doflamingo and slowly sank into the earth. Then, Dover-kun, let's be here today, goodbye. Doflamingo was still wondering why Orochimaru was leaving all of a sudden. On the shore of the port, where Gladius was lying, a huge white snake suddenly appeared, swallowed Gladius and plunged into the sea. Beast, leave Gladius with me. Doflamingo was indignant, shooting several bullet lines and cobweb walls in his hand, but all of them were in vain. He could only watch helplessly as the white snake went deep into the bottom of the sea and disappeared. Ah, bastard! Doflamingo lowered his voice, growling angrily. Was Lao Ji and then Gladius. In one day, Doflamingo lost two capable men one after another. No matter how calm Doflamingo usually behaves, he couldn't restrain the rage in his heart. With Doflamingo as the center, the ground trembled like silk floating in the wind, and gradually became transparent. However, this change soon came to an abrupt end. Just now, the ability of the thread fruit affected the surrounding through Doflamingo's emotions, and as the mood gradually returned to calm, the thread fruit also lost the ability to affect the surrounding. But it's a sign that Doflamingo's devil fruit awakening is likely to come early. That, young master, we still have a problem that has not been resolved. Diamante's voice sounded at the right time. It turned out that after Orochimaru disappeared, the monster targeted the Doflamingo trio again. Go back one after another, and when our people arrive, I want him to die without a place to be buried. If it weren't for this monster, he wouldn't be attacked, and Lao Ji and Gladius wouldn't have an accident. With Orochimaru's whereabouts unknown, Doflamingo vented his anger and hatred to the monster that the number 9 subject turned into. Even Doflamingo has a hatred on the number 9 subject. Despite their reluctance, the three of them could not continue to fight monsters in their current state. At this moment, on the boat Chinluo was on, Orochimaru who disappeared slowly walked to his side. The disguise outside had been thrown away by Orochimaru, and he returned to his original appearance. Why do you want to take that away? Wouldn't it be better to just kill him? Chinluo was referring to Gladius. My experiment has made new progress, and I need a new experimental body, preferably a devil fruit person. Orochimaru replied. Chinluo rolled his eyes, he couldn't even believe what Orochimaru said. Devil fruit ability seems to be rare these days, but if you look carefully, you can still find it. It's much easier to catch a devil fruit with average strength than to save a half-dead Gladius. Forget it. Orochimaru took off the cracked mask on his face and threw it into the sea, and said leisurely, don't you think it's very interesting to let Doflamingo die in his hands? He saved Doflamingo, and finally killed Doflamingo. Looking at Orochimaru, Chinluo couldn't help shivering. Poor guy, whoever provokes it is not good, but the Orochimaru who is very revengeful. However, Chinluo was very satisfied with the plot, and he was looking forward to it. I think he will regret not dying just now. Chinluo can imagine that the life after Gladius will never be easy, and it is impossible for Orochimaru to treat him gently first. adding Orochimaru to transform him into a being capable of killing Doflamingo. This process must not be easy. Chapter 683 Lingering Anger. Orochimaru left less than 2 minutes before Doflamingo's men finally arrived. The clubs and spades, led by Toripal and Circa, rescued the 3 Doflamingo. At least the 3 of them don't need to be run around by the monsters transformed by experimental number 9. Ensuring that their young master, Doflamingo, was okay, Toripal had time to look at the entire port. Rao was used to seeing big scenes, and was taken aback by the ruins of the port. From receiving Doflamingo's notice to arriving at the port, it took only 20 minutes, and the port was as if it had been washed by a bomber. Ghost, what just happened here? Another point, Toripal found it strange at first. Gladius and Laoji didn't seem to be there, these 2 guys who should have stayed by the young master's side. Diamante secretly shook his head at Toripal, looking at Doflamingo, who looked extremely bad. He immediately realized that he didn't find anything, and devoted all his attention to dealing with monsters. Shinluo and Orochimaru didn't leave, they kept watching the Don Quixote family clean up the monster. Doflamingo has always been careful, and he knew that Orochimaru wouldn't mind coming back again if there were any flaws on his side. Shinluo turned his head to look at Orochimaru. It doesn't matter, the experimental body is about to fall into the hands of the Don Quixote family. It's just a pile of carbonized rotten meat. If he wants it, let him take it. Orochimaru is not worried at all. The mutation of the experimental body number 9 is caused by him, and no one knows the essence of the monster better than him. A carbohydrate that is driven by energy, and when the energy runs out, the monster's life comes to an end. With a corpse without even its physical structure, what else could Doflamingo research? In the end, the participation of a large number of Don Quixote family reinforcements quickly drained the monster's full energy. Its charcoal-like body was packed and taken away by the Don Quixote family. Only a devastated ruin is left for the other forces that are long overdue, allowing them to use their imaginations freely. Although I don't know what happened, I can't hide the news of the Don Quixote family's accident. Many port workers can prove that the events of the day are related to the Don Quixote family, and the 2 groups of people who arrived before and after are also their family members. There is also a very strong news that can say something. Gladius and Laoji of the Don Quixote family retired. Especially the former, Gladius did not come to participate in the following games in the first situation of basically locking the group. It is said that since that day, the 2 have never been seen again. The other forces are almost celebrating each other. The development of the Don Quixote family in recent years has brought great pressure to other forces and countries in North Blue, and they are also happy to see Doflamingo lose his army. On Doflamingo's side, he smashed his room again when everyone else was celebrating the new year ahead of schedule. Luxurious furniture was turned into pieces on the ground, bedding, vases, picture frames, and these things also did not escape bad luck. What made Doflamingo go berserk was the crumpled paper on the ground. This is a research report, but there are only a few lines on it, which means that the material is damaged and cannot be studied. After Doflamingo brought back the monster's body, he had seen such a report for the 3rd time, and each time it made Doflamingo furious. The researchers changed from one group to another, from family raised to hired and kidnapped, and all the researchers came to the same conclusion. This result is unacceptable to Doflamingo. Doesn't it mean that what he got back after sacrificing Gladius and Laoji is worthless garbage? At this moment, Toripal came in from outside. Young master, the target's laboratory has been found. Toripal's words stopped Doflamingo, who was smashing the room. You sure? According to the information given by that person, experiment number 9, we found the abandoned warehouse. We also inquired from people nearby that the warehouse was rented out recently, and the time was exactly the same. But, quote, it can't be wrong. Before Toripal finished speaking, Doflamingo took over. Call all the cadres, let's go collect the debt. Well, what did you just say? Doflamingo was about to leave the room. No need, young master, the laboratory has disappeared. On the day of the incident, the warehouse was reduced to ashes due to a fire. The other party is very cunning. When our people found the place, there were only some residues left. Torapal kept his speech as slow as possible, for fear of irritating Doflamingo. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, I really underestimate him. Doflamingo burst out laughing, and without warning, the room vibrated, and threads seemed to be drawn out of the room's walls and floor. As Doflamingo punched the wall, an innocent waiter in the hallway outside the room was nailed to the other wall by the countless lines that suddenly appeared on the wall, killing him on the spot. Torapal frowned. He had only seen such an unstable young master once before. And that time was when the young master killed his father and asked to return to Tenryubito and was rejected. At this moment, Doflamingo is showing more powerful devil fruit ability than before, but Torapal is not happy at all. This state is obviously wrong. Young master, calm down. Torapal said, half knelt on the ground. Torapal had already learned all about the events of the day from Diamante, so he suggested. Young master, do you know the origin of the other party? Maybe as long as we give enough pressure, the other party will obediently put Gladius back. The origin? What if we know? We can't move that force. Although there is no evidence, Doflamingo can basically be sure that the person who killed Laoji and took away Garati 0.1 woos was Orochimaru, who had a relationship on Fishman Island, but it was because of this that he was desperate. It's impossible to hit someone else's hometown, and the only way is to catch Orochimaru, who is alone. At this time, Torapal also reacted, and there are not many forces that the Don Quixote family can't afford at all, such as Marine, the world government, and the Luyun Palace. And looking at the performance of the other party, it is basically impossible to be someone from Marine and the world government. So, Torapal couldn't help but let out a wry smile. Young master, maybe we can ask him what his plans are. If the other party captures Gladius, maybe we can use the devil fruit to redeem him. Thinking of the god's unexpected obsession with devil fruits, Torapal felt that this plan was unexpectedly feasible. Chapter 684 Specialty Pharmaceuticals. Gladius, who had a broken hand, was tied to the bed in the shape of a mummy. The shackles on Gladius' right hand and his feet ensured that even if he woke up halfway through, he wouldn't do anything wrong. Chinluo didn't want the hotel he was staying in to suddenly ascend to heaven. Even if Orochiwan reassured that without his antidote, Gladius would never wake up, Chinluo was not at ease. After all, this Gladius is the ultimate evolution of Osama bin Laden, a guy who truly achieves the continuous recycling of human bombs. To get such a terrorist here to recuperate, Orochimaru is also a big heart. Hey, Orochimaru, when you say hospitality, you mean taking him to a hotel for treatment. I thought you'd throw him in a glass jar and add something special to the culture. In the living room, Chinluo pointed to the room where Gladius was. I originally planned this as well, but there is no way. Who made my laboratory burn down? Orochimaru said with a wave of his hand. Hearing this, Chinluo and Fatty C in the room rolled their eyes. Didn't you set the laboratory on fire yourself? Fearing that Subject 9's betrayal would reveal the location of the laboratory, Orochimaru set fire to the warehouse as soon as he returned from the port. Sure enough, the Don Quixote family really came to the door, and even found the renter's information. Fatty C didn't know that he slipped around in front of the gate of hell and almost revealed his identity. If Fatty C had not been careful enough before, when he helped Orochimaru find the laboratory, he entrusted others to do it anonymously, and he might have been caught by the Don Quixote family. The Don Quixote family may have nothing to do with Chinluo and Orochimaru, but Fatty C will definitely be the first target for their revenge. Orochimaru didn't intend to continue to delve into this point. He stopped talking, and started to prepare the experimental drugs. In Fatty C's living room, green, red, and all kinds of bottles and jars were all over the floor. Just looking at them made people panic. Hurry up and finish your new laboratory, then pack up and leave. If this goes on like this, I'll get anorexia. Chinluo said dissatisfiedly. What does that matter? Even if I really have anorexia, I have several ways to replenish energy without eating, and I won't die. Orochi replied without raising his head. No, it's not the same thing at all. If you can't even eat delicious food, then what's the point of life? Chinluo tried to make Orochimaru realize his mistake. Orochimaru also cooperated and stopped what he was doing, and after thinking about it carefully, he gave a very hasty answer. You say yes, then it is. Chinluo was so angry that he and Orochimaru were not on the same channel at all. Don't worry, the guy who helped me prepare the new lab is already on his way, and he has someone's gift in his hand. Orochimaru said mysteriously. As soon as Orochimaru finished speaking, there was a knock on the door of Fatty Sis' room. There is a saying how to say, that Sao 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 arrived. Chinluo wanted to see who the guy in Orochimaru's mouth was. In view of Orochimaru's criminal record, Chinluo boldly guessed which unlucky person must have been threatened by Orochimaru. Gate of opening came in, Tayuya was walking in front, and there was another person who followed behind her, who should be a male by the sound of footsteps. Lord Chinluo. Orochimaru-sama. Taiyu also bowed and said to Orochimaru, according to your instructions, I have brought people over. At the same time, Tayuya stepped aside, revealing the guests she had brought. Chinluo was stunned. Isn't this the rat man Beta who was sent to the research base where Vegapunk is located as an insider? It turned out that he was the unlucky guy Orochimaru said. Speaking of which, this guy was caught by Chinluo because he made a deal with Orochimaru. And after catching Ratman Beta, Orochimaru had to train him for a few days. Needless to say, after Orochimaru's preaching brainwashing that he knows things with love and moves with reason, it is estimated that Ratman Beta intends to dedicate his life to the great cause of Orochimaru. Having said that, it was Chinluo who killed him. With 3-point pity, 3-point apology, and 4-point gloating eyes, Chinluo looked at Beta the Ratman. Ratman Beta was uncomfortable with Chinluo's strange eyes, but since Chinluo was the boss's boss, he didn't dare to be presumptuous at all. After the same salute, he took out something and gave it to Orochimaru. A fist-sized bottle containing a pale yellow oily liquid. What is this? Chinluo asked. Good things. Good things that make life better. Orochimaru said that it didn't mean that he didn't say it. Chinluo's sex toy advertisements in his previous life were also like this, and with Orochimaru's impotence, it was obviously not useful. So Chinluo turned his attention to the Ratman Beta. Beta said, this is what Dr. Vegapunk told me to give to Orochimaru-sama. I don't know the rest. What Vegapunk gave, that is something related to their experiment. And Orochimaru's actions just confirmed Chinluo's conjecture. The Orochi pill poured a few drops of the oily liquid from the bottle into the potion he had prepared earlier. With a tremor, when Chinluo thought that the medicine 757 in the test tube was about to explode, the medicine calmed down and the color changed to light blue. Tayuya, feed this thing to the one inside and drink it. Orochimaru pointed to the bedroom. Also nodded, took the potion and walked towards the bedroom where Gladius was. What the heck is this? Why does it look so weird? Chinluo stared at Orochimaru and asked. Even if he didn't understand, he couldn't hide it like a fool. This feeling was terrible. Stabilizer, didn't I say? Vegapunk has created a very powerful stabilizer that slows down the body's rejection, Orochimaru said. Just like this. Chinluo looked suspiciously. Of course I added something that I had specially prepared for him. At this moment, a huge scream broke out in the room where Gladius was. Fortunately, Chinluo was quick-witted, and after the second burst, he went to the room and set up a soundproof barrier. Otherwise, don't talk about disturbing the people, and the Quixote family will come to the second heaven. At the same time, Orochimaru walked towards Gladius unhurriedly. The pitiful Orochimaru, he clearly expected this matter, but did not inform him in advance. His feeling is that he wants Chinluo to help him attract the attention of the Don Quixote family. Chapter 685 The points race is over. When Chinluo went in, Orochimaru had already controlled Gladius, at least he didn't let him howl like he just did. Gladius' bandaged, mummified body wriggled uncomfortably, and from time to time a bulge would bulge out of his body, holding the bandage tight. The only face that was not covered by the bandages was full of hideous colors, and the blue veins burst out. To Chin Luo's surprise, Gladius didn't wake up. All the screams and pains were made by him in a coma. If Gladius is dreaming now, it must be the worst nightmare in the world. You fed him dichlorvis, or Sanlu milk powder. Are you directly wanting him to die? Chin Luo said to Orochimaru. When Orochimaru heard the words, a black question mark expression appeared. Dichlorvis, Sanlu milk powder, what is that? It's not important. What's going on with him? You've already started the experiment, in this place. When Chin Luo spoke, a drastic change occurred in Gladius. Gladius' empty left sleeve swelled up, the bandage on the severed arm was torn, and irregular red flesh was drawn from it, ugly and disgusting stench. The surface of the flesh changed again, the flesh began to wither, and gradually turned into a gray-brown carapace of the material of the monster's exoskeleton. To say that this is a newly grown thing as a human arm is indeed a bit far-fetched. You can't see the palm and fingers at all, countless finger-sized tentacles are scattered all over the arm, and as the surface withers, these tentacles have turned into spikes. This looks more like some shellfish in the deep sea. Orochimaru also pondered for a while and returned to after reading the accident that happened in Gladius. I didn't expect Vegapunk's stabilizer to be so effective. When many things were not prepared, the mutation started on its own. Chin Luo was stunned for a moment. The mutation has already begun, which means several meanings. You're not going to finish the experiment right here. At this moment, the one who suffered the most was Fatty C. This was his room. Orochimaru used to be the laboratory room. He didn't have the guts to sleep again. Maybe there was something weird left. But he didn't dare to say any word to Orochimaru. No, the conditions here are too rudimentary, and I can't even fit my operating table. Orochimaru's disgust was tantamount to the sound of heaven for C. Fatty. I have suspended the process of mutation, and I just need to find a new laboratory. Orochimaru left in a hurry, perhaps because the delay could not last long. He had to set up the laboratory as soon as possible. Orochimaru, the only one who knew about Gladius' situation, left, leaving a group of melon-eating crowd stunned. The treatment with the Orochi pills did not relieve the pain, and Gladius still appeared to be in great pain. The buns on his body are getting bigger and bigger. Whether or not Gladius will explode suddenly has become a question that Chin Luo and others must consider. Chin Luo put a repulsion shield on this dangerous human bomb. Even if it exploded, it could ensure that everything in the room except the bed would be fine. If a phone call from the Don Quixote family came in at this time, Chin Luo wouldn't mind using this dangerous item to exchange for some devil fruits when Orochimaru wasn't around, but unfortunately the call came a little late. Just as Orochimaru took Gladius away with his forefoot, Chin Luo received a call from Roger on Fishman Island. Chin Luo, did you arrest the Don Quixote family in Calgary? Well, Orochimaru caught it. Chin Luo was still rather strange when he suddenly received a call from his intelligence chief. Why, your observation hockey has improved again, and you can even perceive this kind of thing. Haha, don't make fun of me, it was someone from the Don Quixote family who came to the door. Someone said on the phone that they were willing to exchange 10 devil fruits for one called Gladius. So I came here to ask who is on your side. What happened? You agreed. Chin Luo asked. How is it possible? I don't even know how to promise others in your situation. Do you want to increase the price? Don't worry, I won't agree without 20. Roger was so skilled in the matter of sitting on the ground and raising the price, and suddenly there was a kind of sadness of losing tens of billions. Don't talk about it. That person was thrown on the experimental bench by Orochimaru. Do you think others will want it? Chin Luo said helplessly. Gladius looked like after being given the medicine, Chin Luo felt that there was no such possibility. Just pretend you don't know about this. you just have to find a reason to shirk it. Chinluo didn't know what Orochimaru had exposed at this time, and Orochimaru didn't mention it to Chinluo. So Roger's refusal was like rubbing salt on Doflamingo's wound, causing the Don Quixote family to eat gunpowder in the next few days of competition. Especially Doflamingo's opponent, as long as they don't abstain from the beginning, they will be killed or injured. But the referee had no way to take Doflamingo, and the other forces didn't want to provoke Doflamingo at this time, so they all chose to pretend to be blind to this kind of thing. Don Quixote family did not dare to force Luyun Palace to release him, but they never stopped searching for Orochimaru. I don't know what Doflamingo was thinking. But this has nothing to do with Chinluo. The Don Quixote family is looking for a guy who plays with snakes. Chinluo's strength and ability are enough to make these searchers detour. The next day returned to a leisurely vacation time. After Orochimaru's pen pal offensive, Vegapunk let go a lot, and maybe just one more push will be able to take the first scientist in the pirate world. Chinluo is not in a hurry, the other party is now throwing himself into the devil experiment. In this case, the points race has also come to an end. The final result did not exceed everyone's expectations by much. Those casinos in Calgary really have something, and the list of qualifying for the knockout is almost the same as their ranking. The biggest change still fell on the 14 C-curse experimental subjects. Then Orochimaru had guessed, and there was not a single C-spell experimenter who had successfully survived the points competition. In the last 1 or 2 games, there were a lot of sudden deaths in the C-spell experimental subjects. The domineering power of the spell has consumed all the vitality of these experimental subjects, turning them into a pile of dead coals. It is exactly the same as the final outcome of the number 9 experiment. Those forces that are very interested in the C-spell experimental body, see this situation, and their hearts are also cold. Knowing that there would be such a big side effect, they would not have bothered about it at all. Chapter 686 Seek Refuge. It's like a bullish stock crash and a corporate scandal. The forces chasing the C-spell experimental body technology for the whole point competition are as disgusting as eating flies. So the pressure comes to armed prosthetics. But the Danethil family didn't care about such a little pressure, and they were happy with it. The ultimate goal of this martial arts conference is to promote their new product, armed prosthetic limbs. Now that their competitors have fallen, they naturally have to seize the opportunity to spread the word. Rumors slowly spread in Calgary that an armed prosthesis would be sold at a weapons show following the Budo convention. Maybe your qualifications are mediocre, or you may be physically disabled, but as long as you get an armed prosthesis, you can get the same powerful strength, power, and wealth as those masters. Just like Roger's declaration when he was executed, people at sea will never be able to avoid power, wealth, and power. No one can be sure if this is true, but it is known to everyone on the streets. But one thing is very certain, if the armed prosthesis is really sold, it must be related to the Danethil family, the largest arms dealer in North Blue. In the past few days, the threshold of the Danessor family has almost been broken. Danessor family's mansion, the owner Darwin and Chinluo sat opposite each other, with black tea and various snacks on the table in the middle. Patriarch Darwin is really leisurely. So many people want to visit you, but they don't get the chance. Instead, they invite me for afternoon tea. This makes me a little flattered. Being flattered is false, and wanting to ask why is true. Chinluo put down the black tea in his hand and looked at Darwin calmly. Externally, Chinluo was a guest invited by the Danessor family, which saved Chinluo a lot of trouble. Due to the love of the Danessor family, Chinluo was not easy to refuse Darwin's invitation. But Chinluo couldn't think of Darwin's reason for looking for him at this time. Haha, as your excellency, are you also interested in Calgary? Darwin said with a chuckle. Chinluo shook his head and said helplessly, it's hard to know if you don't know. Your door is full of guys with visiting papers. My arrival attracted a wave of firepower perfectly. Thinking of being stared at by dozens of pairs of jealous eyes, Chinluo felt a pain in the ass, especially since these fiery eyes were all from men. I can't do anything about it. As a businessman, I can't drive these people away. Darwin said. Forget it. Let's go straight to the topic. Why are you looking for me this time? Chin Luo was too lazy to play dumb riddles with Darwin, and gate of opening said straight to the point. Chin Luo directly interrupted Darwin's rhythm. He picked up the black tea and tasted it slowly, as if he was using this time to organize his thoughts. To be honest, Chin Luo doesn't understand the behavior of these people who drink black tea at all times. He is not used to drinking black tea at all. In contrast, Fat House Happy Water, soda, is more suitable for him. Aren't you curious about armed prosthetics? If you need it, I am willing to give you a batch of armed prosthetics first. Darwin admitted in disguise that the news of the sale of armed prosthetics was true, but Chin Luo didn't care about it. Chin Luo waved his hand. So what? Your Excellency really has no interest in armed prosthetics. No matter how powerful your Excellency is, your subordinates always want some powerful weapons. Chin Luo couldn't understand what it was like when Darwin engaged in starvation marketing outside and frantically sold armed prosthetics in front of Chin Luo. Darwin showed that he wanted to sell the armed prosthesis to Chin Luo, which made Chin Luo feel very strange. You can buy it, but it's not necessary. Chin Luo said. Darwin looked at Chin Luo with a surprised look. Sure enough, Your Excellency still doesn't like this kind of thing. Not really. Chin Luo couldn't say that Vegapunk would be poached by him. He didn't lack this skill at all. Others kindly invite you to dinner, but you tell others that I have poached all your people. It's not quite right. There is no such thing as a free lunch. If I am not mistaken, the price a user of an armed prosthesis has to pay is life expectancy, and there is no power that can be gained for no reason. That's the case with the monsters in the points competition, armed prosthetics. The same is true, Chin Luo said sternly. Hearing this, Darwin was shocked at first, and then turned into a wry smile. Your Excellency is really powerful, you can see through the drawbacks of armed prosthetics at a glance. Armed prosthetics will indeed cause damage to the user's body and lifespan, but with the kind that will kill you in more than 10 days. The strength of armed prosthetics can be described in terms of longevity. Quote. Darwin tried to make a final defense, but he saw Chin Luo's eyes did not fluctuate at all. After a moment of silence, Darwin finally decided to state his purpose. After swiping away the servants in the room, Darwin said very seriously, I hope Your Excellency can protect the Dinethil family. In that case, the Dinethil family is willing to support Your Excellency and become your subordinates for protection. Chin Luo thought he had heard it wrong for a time, and he stared at Darwin and asked him to repeat it. Reason. If Patriarch Darwin just wanted to make a joke, I can pretend that I didn't hear it. At this time, the dinosaur family seemed to be in a state of gradually reaching the peak of their lives. Just like Darwin's plan, as long as the weapons exhibition goes well, the dinosaur family will become the largest force in North Blue. Under such circumstances, what was Darwin worried about? Such a request was also made. Chin Luo recalled carefully, today is not April Fool's Day. I hope I'm crazy. It's obviously in good shape, but I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the unease in my heart. My subordinates told me that they can always hear the devil's whispers recently. Darwin covered said with his chest. Subordinates. With all due respect, Chin Luo couldn't see any uneasiness in the eyes of those security guards and servants. It's the guys with armed prosthetics, and it's not just my family, Darwin added. But you are the only one who takes him seriously. When he heard the devil's murmur, Chin Luo subconsciously remembered the heart he saw in Vegapunk's room. No evidence is needed at all. Chin Luo is 100% sure that Darwin's sense of crisis comes from that heart. Some time ago, Chin Luo also heard the throbbing of that heart. What Chin Luo can feel is not something simple. Chin Luo had already warned Vegapunk, but the other party was very persistent in this experiment. I'll think about it. Chin Luo was not in a hurry to agree to Darwin. Chapter 687 Shot while lying down. Chin Luo responded firmly. No matter how Darwin lobbied, he did not immediately agree. Mainly compared to other sea areas, the turmoil in North Blue made Chin Luo not want to swim in the muddy waters here. However, if Darwin is agreed, the benefits are also obvious. The dinosaur family's arms production ability is not covered. The addition of the dinosaur family is a great help for Luyun Palace, which lacks factories and weapons. This kind of gathering situation can be met, and Chin Luo has also become very experienced. If you are indecisive, ask Tsunade, and leave the village chief at home to not ask. Do you keep questions for the new year? Of course, in order to stabilize Darwin, Chin Luo didn't mind revealing some news to him. Regarding the ominous premonition of Darwin and his many subordinates, Chin Luo vaguely told him that his guess was true. Well, Chin Luo definitely did it on purpose, didn't you see Darwin panicking? But what Chin Luo said is also true, Vegapunk will definitely complete that demon, absolutely. In the following chat, Darwin was a little out of shape. He did not hide the loss on his face at all. In terms of purpose, his interview today was quite a failure. Originally Darwin wanted to connect with Chin Luo through the trade of armed prosthetics, but Chin Luo didn't care at all. Then Darwin sought asylum at the expense of his family, but also did not get Chin Luo's affirmation. The only gain is probably that his bad premonition has been confirmed. The only hope for this is that he thinks more about it. Later, Chin Luo and Darwin talked about the knockout round. As usual, Darwin strongly invited Chin Luo to serve as the referee, even if it was an honorary referee. Because there were too many ruthless people like Doflamingo in the knockout round, Darwin's group was a little worried that the referee of the game would not be able to hold the game. Of course, Chin Luo also rejected him as usual. Just kidding, he has to sit for a whole day again. Chin Luo will never agree to say anything. Things that are suitable for both the host and the guest do not happen every time, but Darwin respectfully sent Chin Luo away in person. In Calgary, Darwin was the only one who could roughly guess Chin Luo's identity. Even Doflamingo only recognized Orochimaru's identity and did not know that Chin Luo was also here. As a result, the people standing at the door of the dinosaur family were even more restless, and they were deeply shocked by their hearts. Not only was Chin Luo free to enter the dinosaur family without notification, but he was also sent out by the person they had been begging to see. The hearts of these people are bitter. How can the gap between people be so big? They shouted hello to Darwin, and kept asking him when he was free and whether he wanted to talk about his life and ideals. The crowd's voice was extremely enthusiastic, and it was impossible for Darwin to pretend not to hear in this case. Arms dealers are still businessmen after all, and it is impossible to completely ignore these potential customers. After Darwin sent Chin Luo away, he looked at the guys who asked to see him with Spring Breeze, and said that the weather was good today and everyone was healthy. In a word, it's just one meaning: I don't want to see guests, you should hurry and go back wherever you come. These people lied straight, and then said, your sister, in their hearts. You are too busy to give it away in person, but you don't have time. Idiots, could be vaguely heard in the dispersed crowd, and it was unknown whether they were referring to Darwin, who had business but not doing business, or himself who had been waiting for a long time in front of the dinosaur family mansion. Don't say that other forces don't understand why Darwin doesn't see these people who want to buy armed prosthetics, and even Darwin's allies in Vegapunk's 8 fan support groups don't understand. The preheating advertisements have all been launched. At this time, it is even more necessary to actively promote a wave. Did Darwin want to go the route of starvation marketing? High, really high, worthy of being a professional arms seller playing monkeys. If Darwin knew what they were thinking, he would have sneered. He was simply not in the mood. A disaster was imminent, but he was not alert at all. From the bottom of his heart, Darwin looked down on his allies who had never seen money. North Blue's structure was still too small. The other forces of Vegapunk's 8 fan support groups are happy to see this situation. Since you don't want this big gift from Darwin, then they are welcome. You must know that it is not just the Denethal family that can buy armed prosthetics. Every faction has its share. This situation cannot be changed even if the Denethal family and the Kingdom of Germa are strong. Something in the agreement. And it is very easy to tell which force has the right to sell armed prosthetics. At this moment, which force has armed prosthetics, he has the right of agency. In this case, on the eve of the knockout round, except for the two forces that were not in North Blue, the Shenlong Cherno and the Denethor family who didn't make a statement, the rest of the forces were crowded. And this kind of money and power exchange, the atmosphere of exchange of interests is the most likely to breed all kinds of conspiracy and tricks. The situation in Calgary has undergone tremendous changes. It is much simpler and clearer than the previous situation of fighting each other and contending for 100 schools of thought, but the smell of gunpowder is a bit stronger. 0. The major groups gathered together for warmth and divided the entire Calgary force into 5. The 5 powers are Foreign Marine and the World Government, the Don Quixote family whose boss has a problem, the Denethor family who hates too much money, the Germa Kingdom who hates slowly, and the Mutual Aid Union of the rest of the Vegapunk fan support group, referred to as the Rabble. If you insist that Chin Luo and these people are also a force, you can also call them a plug-in tourist group. As the head of the Luyun Palace sightseeing group, Chin Luo just wanted to shout at this moment. 2nd Battalion Commander, what about Laozi's Italian artillery? In Calgary, Chin Luo, as a distinguished guest of the Denethor family, received many courtesy, and Darwin also knew the rules and did not reveal Chin Luo's identity information casually. But North Blue's forest is not only big, but also chaotic enough. There are always forces that don't sell the face of the Denethor family. They even wanted to attack the Denethor family by catching or killing Chin Luo, a distinguished guest. What kind of thing is this? Chin Luo was shot while lying down. Not long after the Denethor family left, Chin Luo found himself being targeted. When Chin Luo was passing by a certain area, there was a serious traffic dispute at the front and rear exits at the same time. Several carriages collided, and the road was blocked while the people turned over. Chapter 688 Let the bullets fly. The expressions are too fake, the actions are deliberate, and the script is old-fashioned. From the beginning to the end, Chin Luo criticized the forces he deliberately blocked in terms of actor quality and script. And how can there be such a coincidence in the world that a traffic accident occurs at the front and rear exits at the same time? Except in disasters and movies, the probability of appearing in reality is lower than buying lottery tickets. If Chin Luo believed it, he would be a ghost. He just watched silently to see how long these people would act embarrassingly. I don't know if I found out that Chin Luo was not in a hurry at all, or the preparations have been completed. The car owners who pretended to be quarreling stopped, and took out weapons from various places and aimed them at Chin Luo. At the same time, the shops on both sides closed all the doors and windows, and one by one eye-catchingly emerged from some gaps, also aiming at Chin Luo. The 4 desperate guys surrounded Chin Luo from different directions. Looking at the aura, they almost didn't write the words, "I am a master," on their faces. 2 of them, Chin Luo, were also seen on the knockout list. One is the Paramesha Devil Fruit Centaur. Yes, you read that right, it's Paramesha, Centaurus fruit, not Zone, Horse and Horse fruit. The owner of Mama Fruit is Sky Island. Gonfor's partner Pierre is a big fool. Because of its unique shape, Chin Luo has a little impression of this centaur who he saw for the first and only time in the world of pirates. The other one is also unique, known as Human Cannon, and Human Bombardier. With a sturdy stature of 2 meters, and a metal plate armor covering his entire body, his weapon is to carry the shells in a powder magazine behind him. This person can throw artillery shells with hand strength, not only with extremely high accuracy, but also with the speed and efficiency of throwing that can beat the speed of the most powerful artillery pieces on the market. It is said that his specialty was learning from someone in Marine. Yes, it's you Garp, come out to take the pot, thank you. These 2 are well-known warmongers. According to the situation, someone hired them to deal with the Denethor family. Chin Luo just did it by the way. One of the two people Chin Luo didn't know said, "It is rumored in Calgary that there is a distinguished guest in the Daniser family, and I want to talk about you. It just so happened that our boss and Darwin were a little bit different and wanted to invite you to do it." Guest. The high-sounding speech, with contempt for Chin Luo in arrogance, was the complete opposite of that invitation, he said, and there was a sound of firearms pulling the insurance around. It seems that Chin Luo will be beaten into a honeycomb in the next second. "I'm not interested, I don't want to get involved in the mess between you and the Daniser family. And if you want to continue participating in tomorrow's game, you'd better get out of the way now." Chin Luo just persuaded them on a routine basis, and didn't expect them to really get out of the way. As if hearing some kind of joke, both the centaurs and the human bombardier laughed strangely. "I have investigated you, and you have some strength, but playing hard in front of the four of us really eliminated the big teeth. You have self-knowledge, and you should remember it in your next life." As the man finished speaking, the signal to fire was automatically issued. The sound of boom, blah, 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 blah. Hundreds of firearms flashed around Chin Luo, and the ammunition poured onto Chin Luo without money. The human bombardier was also unwilling to be lonely, and even threw 3 shells into it. But he didn't seem to notice that only 2 shells actually exploded. It can be said that these people didn't really intend to invite Chin Luo from the beginning, it was a complete waste of food. Their purpose is very simple, to kill everyone related to the Daniser family, Chin Luo as their first prey. How unfortunate is it? The gunfire didn't stop until all the bullets were fired. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the strange scene caught everyone's attention. Where Chin Luo was, a coffin, made of various bullets stood there. The bullets were densely arranged, and it seemed that Chin Luo, who was unharmed, could be seen through the gap. Chin Luo snapped his fingers, and the mysterious power that held back many bullets disappeared. The ambush circle of lore fell into a strange silence. These people suddenly felt absurd. They were surrounded by a large number of them. The real ambush was Chin Luo in the center of the ambush circle. Chin Luo raised a cannonball in his hand and said deeply, "You know, the commonly known Italian cannon is the French 1897 Type 75 mm field cannon. It is called Italian cannon because Italian text is engraved on the cannon." Like stroking a work of art, Chin Luo touched the smooth exterior of the cannonball. Chin Luo did his best, but in fact, Italian artillery refers to artillery, not artillery shells, and there is no Italian text on this artillery shell. Chin Luo just wanted to realize the qualities that an actor should have. But his audience seemed a little confused. They couldn't understand Italy and the legal system at all. Chin Luo's face flushed, and he regretted his sudden outbreak of secondary illness. In a fit of anger, Chin Luo decided to kill in silence. "Why am I telling you all this?" With that, Chin Luo flipped his wrist and the shells had been thrown away. The human bombardier only felt a flash in front of his eyes, and the cannonball thrown by Chin Luo had a close contact with his head. The metal helmet was smashed into the hollow, and his head instantly turned into a mess of slurries, and he couldn't die any longer. This was not over. The shell dragged his body and flew into the shop on the right, with a loud bang, and all the ambushers inside died. Chin Luo disappeared, and his figure reappeared in front of the centaurs. The centaur raised the long lance in his hand and tried to split, but his speed was no different from that of a snail in front of Chin Luo. The right hand penetrated into the centaur man's heart, and the swallowing ability instantly took away his life and devil fruit. Chin Luo snatched the man's long lance and cut his body in half. 2.6. The other two did the same, but none of them were devil fruit users, and they didn't provide Chin Luo with points. At this time, the guy with a strong desire to survive threw away the gun and ran away. But does it really run away? Chin Luo raised his hands, and the bullet that fell on the ground floated into the air again, following Chin Luo's hands. These bullets, like those with eyes, pursued all the ambushers frantically with great speed. Chin Luo doesn't need to worry about the latter, just let the bullets fly for a while. Either the head, the heart, or the throat, there will always be one part of the ambusher that the bullet will mercilessly pass through, turning it into a fallen corpse. The furthest one did not exceed 100 meters. In front of Chin Luo's bullets, even if he mastered the secret technique, it was useless to move left and right. Chapter 689 Terminal Illness. Two of them have just made a big splash in the points competition, and the other two are not salted fish, they are the most ruthless men in the North Blue Gang. But just like these four people, they all died under their own stunts of fame, giving people the illusion of suicide. The human bombardier had his head blown off by his own cannonball, the centaur man was slashed in the waist by his own weapon, and the two guys who were good at locking skills had their necks broken and their hearts broken. Well, in fact, the last two are just additions. People are most surprised by the two players who died. Just the day before the knockout rounds started, the two players died in the city just like that. This is a big deal for Budo and Calgary as a whole. How many men and women with dreams invested their savings in these players, holding the determination to win the clubhouse tender model and lose to work in the sea? As a result, before the dream of getting rich overnight, they were taken to the rooftop and lined up in a long line. The crowd indignantly demanded the royal family and casino in Calgary to thoroughly investigate the matter, not to seek justice for death, nor for the hellish security. They just wanted to catch the guy who was trying to control the outcome of the game. Speaking of which, why did the player who made the bet die unexpectedly before the game started but didn't give the money back? You bastard in the casino, you have an explanation. Well, that's the point. Chin Luo had already returned to the hotel, and he didn't know that what was going on there was quite big, but even if he knew, he wouldn't care. For the first time, Chin Luo found Tsunade, the mayor of Zongjin's #1 village in the world, and talked about Darwin's request for cover and the small troubles he encountered on the way. You promised. Seeing Tsunade's expression, Chin Luo looked very bad, and quickly shook his head. Tsunade's brows suddenly wrinkled. Chin Luo's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he just guessed wrong? Then you refused. Tsunade's tone and expression were similar to those just now, making Chin Luo a little unclear. No, I said to think about it first. Chin Luo replied with a little confidence, and at the same time expressed his concerns. The words revealed that I had to consult you before making a decision. After listening to Chin Luo's thoughts, Tsunade asked, is the devil you're talking about strong? It's okay, it's an invincible existence for these people, but it's a trivial thing in front of me. Chin Luo grabbed the orange and lay down on the sofa while eating. Chin Luo, you are ill, or terminally ill. Tsunade's sign language was astonishing, with inexplicable sadness. Chin Luo was startled and almost choked to death by the orange. Ghost, I'm at full physical level, and I can still get sick. Don't lie to me, I've seen more than 100 times the study materials, then you can master the postures. Chin Luo complained in his heart. This kind of terminal illness is called late-stage cancer syndrome, which is slick, troublesome, mindless, and lazy. Before you get sick, you should walk more quickly. After you get sick, you are expected to be in bed for the rest of your life. If it weren't for something strange in the disease name, just because of the length of the disease name, Chin Luo really thought it was a terminal illness. So Tsunade didn't even need to check the pulse or anything, and the terminal illness that he gave Chin Luo was just saying that he had no brain. You don't believe it? Chin Luo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can you tell me to believe this kind of brainless lazy cancer syndrome? It's slippery, troublesome, mindless, lazy cancer syndrome. If you don't believe it, you can ask someone else, Tsunade said. It happened that Orowei entered the living room at this time. As a rigorous scholar, she would definitely prove that this disease was a nonsense. Olivia, you came just in time. Tsunade actually said that I have a terminal illness. Do you think it's possible? Chin Luo looked at Olivia with anticipation and showed off his healthy body. You mean the slick and troublesome late-stage cancer syndrome? It is said to be the world's first terminal disease, there is no cure, but this disease is not contagious, so you don't have to worry about us. Ha! Chin Luo's mouth is so big that it's impossible, impossible. Saying that, Chin Luo ran out. Tsunade and Olivia must have joined forces to punish him. He wanted to find someone else to ask. Chin Luo bumped into Momoshiki on the stairs and grabbed her hands. Momoshiki didn't expect Chin Luohui to suddenly grab her hands in front of the crowd. She was very anxious, and she was a little bit expectant in addition to her surprise. Did this dead man know Shu's love? Result, what Momoshiki imagined did not appear. Chin Luo grabbed her hand and asked him if he had a terminal illness with a strange name. This is a process of gradually losing smile and shyness. Looking at the eager look on Chin Luo's face, Momoshiki suddenly has a feeling of being kicked out by a fool before. Yeah, they're right, you're out of luck. Momoshiki dropped the words and left. Chin Luo still didn't believe it. He thought to himself, system, you said. Needless to say the host, I know. The system interrupted him directly this time, I can't save it. Wait to die. Say goodbye. At this time, in the room after Chin Luo left, Olivia said to Tsunade, why are you scaring him? Hee, don't look at what he looks like now. Since he came to Calgary, he has been in charge of everything without moving his mind. I don't want him and the children to become pigs like Tenryubito's words seemed to remind Olivia of Tenryubito's appearance. She couldn't help shivering, and silently praised Tsunade. Alas, poor Chin Luo, all said that 3 women are in one play, it's just that he is too deeply involved in the play at the moment. Chapter 690 Calculating North Blue. When Chin Luo realized that he was being tricked, even Duo Yu knew about it. Seeing how Duo Yu wanted to laugh but didn't dare to laugh, Chin Luo only felt that there were 100,000 grass mud horses galloping in his heart. He knew for a long time, how could he have a terminal illness, or that kind of disease with a strange name? He was just a little unconfident. Orochimaru didn't plan to diagnose Chin Luo after learning that Chin Luo was suffering from a terminal illness. That kind of disgust that didn't cover up at all made Chin Luo more uncomfortable than mocking him in person. But Orochimaru is really busy. Ever since he hooked up with Vegapunk, the spark of thought they collided with was completely at the level of lightning and fire, which also made the devil get out of trouble faster and faster. But Tsunade and Olivia just wanted to take the opportunity to teach Chin Luo a lesson. Taking this opportunity, they had a good chat with Chin Luo about the problems that had recently appeared in him. Chin Luo never expected that he would be so lazy recently. In one sentence, Chin Luo's thinking went wrong. After a serious self-examination and repeated assurances that he would not make the same mistakes, Chin Luo barely passed the 3 female tribunals. Can I not kneel on the washboard? Chin Luo asked weakly. There are many men outside the door, so Chin Luo shouldn't lose face. Thinking about how sad it is that Chin Aoshin has fallen so far. The woman who entered the fighting state was very determined. Chin Luo was not pardoned. He just knelt on the washboard and discussed Darwin's proposal with the 3 women. The Dinosaur family, the largest arms dealer in North Blue, must be accepted. Others have come to the door and begged to be a younger brother, and there is a reason to reject them. Moreover, the arms and arms factories in the opponent's hands are resources that Luyun Palace lacks. The point is how to get it, and how much to pay. It is a very stupid act for the Dinosaur family to announce their participation in Luyun Palace with great fanfare. For the Dinosaur family, this is not just a talisman, it can sometimes be a deadly glass of poisonous wine. The enemies of Flowing Cloud may not have much to do with their base camp, Fishman Island, but if someone like the Dinosaur family dares to come forward, a group of people will come to do things every minute. On this point alone, Darwin would not agree. Don't look at the smooth sailing of Nan Shiraf's side and Chin Luo took over. That's because South Hill RAF is under Chin Luo's name, and Chin Luo is in the honeymoon period with the world government and Marine. And the matter of South Hill RAF is more complicated, it can only be regarded as taking what they need and making use of each other. Guess whether the world government can tolerate Chin Luo's insatiable desire to take Calgary after he took Nan Sharaf. Not to mention Vegapunk, whose value was discovered by Marine and the world government, he was considered forbidden. Kuzan and the other Marines came to North Blue for only one purpose, that is, to take away the Vegapunk hidden here. Now Marine is basically sure that Vegapunk is in the hands of several forces headed by the Dinosaur family, but he is not sure of Vegapunk's position. For Marine to stop pestering the Dinosaur family is to find a chance to send Vegapunk out in front of Marine. Marine, the Don Quixote family and the Kingdom of Germ are all within Chin Luo's consideration. In addition, there is one more thing that must be considered. The purpose of the Dinosaur family's refuge is to seek protection. But once this difficult period has passed, will this family still be willing to submit to Luyun Palace? The Dinosaur family was used to being the master in North Blue, and suddenly put a rein around his neck. Even if the other party willingly, he would be very uncomfortable. Looking at Darwin, this is a patriarch whose ability is worthy of ambition. The Dinosaur family grows step by step under his leadership, and the ultimate goal is to control the entire North Blue. It is impossible for such a person to be submissive to others. It's a sharp weapon, but it's easy to injure yourself if you don't use it well. The best way is to find a scabbard for the weapon, or find someone who can take good care of the weapon. With the Dinosaur family's obsession with power, dinosaurs, and biotechnology, Orochimaru is clearly the best fit. But the proposal did not last even a second before it was collectively rejected. Not that they doubt Orochimaru's ability, on the contrary they have too much confidence in Orochimaru. It doesn't take a year, even half a year, Orochimaru can throw the entire Dinosaur family on the test bench. With the madness and efficiency of doing experiments, Orochimaru never disappoints. It's not really good news to hear that Orochimaru is still working hard to restore his army of reincarnations recently. The Dinosaur family came to seek protection by themselves. Darwin usually treated Chin Luo and the others well, so there was no need to do such cruel things to them. He is powerful, has sufficient judgment, and his methods are moderate. After thinking about it, there are only two people in the current Luyun Palace who meet these conditions, and one of them is not suitable for showing up. That night, Itachi, who received the call, set off overnight, targeting Calgary in North Blue. After a while, Itachi will replace Chin Luo, who has left, as the head of Luyun Palace in North Blue, and he is also the highest force in the Dinosaur family. Just like the Dry Persimmon and Ghost Shark in South Hill Rough. After that, all Chin Luo needed to do was to find an opportunity to agree to Darwin's request. This timing is very critical. It is best to take this opportunity to show a wave of muscles in front of Darwin, which can make Darwin much more honest. As tonight goes by, a new day will bring Calgary back to life and the much-anticipated knockout rounds will begin. There may be no such opportunity in a short period of time, but Chin Luo is not in a hurry at all. The pressure is on Darwin. Chin Luo has completely taken the initiative in this matter. If you really want to compare, the auditions and points competitions in front of the martial arts conference are like warming up, only the knockout is the main competition. Looking at the arrangement of the entire schedule, it is only before the start of the knockout rounds and the final that the event side has arranged a grand opening ceremony. There are pedals and streamers all over Calgary. 128 players came to the knockout venue from different routes, and all the way, they received cheers and praises and appeared in the arena in order. The dead players found replacements, and the second group in the points match. And behind these contestants, there are also beauties and guards dressed in costumes. Just like generals who have returned after winning the war, they will cross the Arc de Triomphe and enter the Palace of Success. Chapter 691 Trophy. Flowers and angry horses are the pursuit of many people for a lifetime. This yearning is gender neutral. This hand of the competition party played beautifully, and the beauties and guards behind the players implied love and power respectively, arousing the most primitive desires in people's hearts. It was a pair of eyes that could not wait to be replaced, which made the atmosphere in Calgary instantly heated to the hottest. If that's not enough, the tournament team will tell you they have more. A half-meter-high trophy was brought out. When people were told that this was the glory of the championship, the audience fell silent, and all they could hear was the sound of gasping and swallowing. Even Chin Luo had to admit that for the first North Blue Martial Arts Conference and the weapons exhibition that followed, several forces that held the event had done a lot of work on the trophy. I saw a close-up of the trophy playing on the big screen of the competition venue. Going is the base and jade crystal is the column. The jade carved into the shape of a branch is intertwined with the crystal, dragging the top 5 eye-sized gems. Red, blue, yellow, green, and purple, the 5 gems are cut in exactly the same state, and a word is engraved on their tops. As the sun shines on the trophy, the light comes together in a special way and shines on the ground through the 5 gems. The 4 characters, number 1 in the world, are arranged on the 4 sides of the trophy, and a purple, Wu, character is reflected on the yellow 100 gold base. This kind of shock is needless to say. A North Blue game cannot be called the number 1 in the world, but no one cares about him at this time. At least this trophy is definitely called the number 1 in the world. This trophy can even be said to be a work of art. That beautiful gem, that title of number 1 in the world, that design called art. Everyone's eyes are revolving around the trophy, even the players are not spared. Fortune, fame, art, this trophy seems to give the champion everything. There will never be a second trophy like this in the world. VIP room of the competition venue, Chin Luo, who came to watch the game with Tsunade, Olivia and Momosugi, said Alexander. The moment the trophy appeared, 3 hands simultaneously touched the soft flesh around his waist. Even the 3 girls who were well informed and saw a lot of jewelry were instantly fascinated by this trophy. To be precise, what they like is not all the trophies, but this way of design. It would be great to have a set of jewelry in this style as a collection, preferably a larger gem. This is the common voice of the 3 women. Units, please note that this is not a drill, this is not a drill. The 3 women looked at Chin Luo while looking at the trophy with kind eyes, which was self-evident. If Chin Luo pretended not to know at this time, the flesh on his waist would definitely be screwed off. Having experienced yesterday's one-day tragedy, Chin Luo wisely agreed to the 3 women's requests. Trophy designer, you better not leave Calgary or you and I are in big trouble. The stadium built at the junction of the wealthy area and the civilian area has long been completed, but as the venue for the main game, it was not used until the knockout stage. Because it is located at the junction of the 2 areas, there is a section of city walls on both sides of the arena. As I said before, Calgary's city walls are also a major feature here. These sections of city walls have no defensive function, but have been transformed into various shops. VIP rooms for the arena. Big figures like Chin Luo and Darwin are all here to watch the game. The auditorium on the edge of the arena was prepared for the rich and ordinary nobles. As for civilians who can't afford tickets, there are free spots for them in the broadcast plaza. Although the arena has undergone a round of expansion, from the original square with a length of 400 meters and a width of 800 meters into a huge field with a length of 1,000 meters and a width of 800 meters, this area is still small compared to the huge field used in the points competition. Too much. This has also led to many tactics that can no longer be used in this flat-footed arena. But no one has any objection. It is almost the same as a battle master with multiple tactics. People are not reluctant to admit that a tactician has won the title of number 1 in North Blue. But the current strong man should not be afraid of the frontal fight, and the excellent tactician can't only use kite tactics. Of course, this change is not without benefits. At least after the size of the field is reduced, the length of the game has been reduced a lot. Hide and seek, tunnel warfare and trap warfare are fun, but time-consuming. It is conservatively estimated that more than 10 battles can be arranged in this arena in one day. The top 128 to advance to the top 64 can be played in just 4 or 5 days. The first game of the knockout round is the most watched. As an opener, the heat of this game is very important for the following games. Therefore, in various events, the opening game will arrange some interesting battles. It is common to arrange for the champions to play, or there may be stories that have to be told between the two sides, and there is another option that is the most popular. With the usual urination of the martial arts tournament, they chose the most popular ones. To say who is the most popular in Calgary, it is definitely Tuyuya. As one of the few 12 female players among the 128 players, Duoyu may not be the first to become famous, nor the highest ranked in combat power. But she is handsome. Foundation is good, she can dress up, coupled with Iceberg's fairy-like temperament and dreamlike moves. What is the phantom sound female swordsman? This name is already in the past tense. Goddess, goddess, goddess. Listen, this is the voice of the masses. The officials of the event are not giving anything away, they have already announced the match list for the opening match, just to earn more popularity. Duoyu, who was dressed in white fluttering, jumped up from the players' preparation room and landed on the field like a cloud. The arena where the voices are so loud is a breath of fresh air. Countless people have just fallen for a while, and a precious second of their lives has slipped away like this. Among the players, there are also many who were amazed by Tuyuya's style, such as a certain Corazon who stumbled into the knockout round, and a certain Hawkeye who chopped melons and vegetables all the way. Corazon's situation was relatively delicate, so he quickly calmed down and didn't show any clues. On the contrary, the future world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye, has his eyes straight. Is it beautiful? A voice sounded in my ear. Hawkeye replied subconsciously, pretty. Redhead and Beckman laughed outright, seeing that Hawkeye was so stupid, they couldn't help it. But Hawkeye noticed something was wrong, and came back to stare at the Redhead and Beckman fiercely, with those kind eyes. Chapter 692 Since Ancient Times, The Lucky Gunman. Hawkeye's eyes were sharp and cold, and there seemed to be a trace of murderous aura coming out of those eyes. Ordinary people really can't stand the direct gaze of the eagle eye. But Shanks and Beckman are too familiar with Hawkeye. They have long been accustomed to Hawkeye's eyes and have developed antibodies. The eyes that have lowered the surrounding temperature a lot are ineffective for Shanks and Beckman. The two of them laughed even more. You don't understand, this kind of beauty can only be seen by a real great swordsman. Hawkeye defended himself. Hearing this, Beckman stabbed Shanks, who was still smiling, with his elbow, and gestured to him with his eyes. Captain, you have been expelled from the swordsmanship, tell me what you think. God expelled the swordsman qualification. Hawkeye, your swordsmanship is better than me, I can't be considered a swordsman, what are you? Shanks continued to tease Hawkeye, but there was no such opportunity before. Shanks continued, he pointed to the auditorium that was constantly shouting, and you said that only swordsmen can appreciate the beauty of girl Tuyuya, so many people in the audience will not be all swordsmen, I think no. Under normal circumstances, when one party is unwilling to continue this topic happily, there are two reasons, one is that they don't want to talk about it, and the other is that they can't talk about it. Obviously, the eagle eye at the moment belongs to the latter. Hawkeye's face was a little red when he said it, and he decisively chose to shut up and pretend to be autistic. Tuyuya's opponent is a spearman, the kind of spearman Lucky E has since ancient times. The weapon is a combination gun that is more than 3 meters long. As the king of long weapons, the long spear has received a great cold reception in the world of pirates. Even in this precious situation like a giant panda, the passive effect of the spearman is still activated constantly. Among the 128 contestants, 70% to 80% of the runners were those who used a sword as a weapon, and only one used a gun. With this probability, if there is a company in the world that issues lottery tickets that rely on bad luck, the gunman will definitely buy that company. Tuyuya's strength is very strong, and even because her previous opponent was too weak, she hadn't used all her strength, and broke into the knockout stage lightly all the way. And as an important point of view for this year's martial arts tournament and the favorite to win the championship, the tournament party will never let Tuyu also disappear from the stage so quickly. This was even more the case in the opening game. After a long time of copying the atmosphere, a master was selected and a goddess was swept out in the first round. Even in the dream, the script did not act like this. This was the only time that the organizer blatantly picked a weaker opponent for duo Yuya, and it was unanimously approved by the audience and other players. Of course, except for the selected spearman. In fact, if the spearman is lucky and encounters several equal opponents in succession, he still has the hope of making it to the top 32. The stage for the opening game belongs to Yuya. The poor gunman has not received any attention since he came to power, and even his friends and relatives also briefly defected. The spearman smiled bitterly and said to Yuya with his gun in his hand, "Please give me some advice, Miss Yuya." Yuya Vivi Isho also returned a salute, during which the spearmen were lost for a moment. "This will be an exciting battle. Let me experience your gun skills." Since Chin Luo discovered that Duo Yu also has the value of being an idol, he organized an idol training class for her, and now this is the first effect. In the state of the Shadow Queen, Yuya has a different kind of brilliance between her frowns, like a female sword fairy hidden in the mountains and forests. Mention the appearance of Orochimaru, which was packaged by Yuya himself. The plastic surgery techniques of later generations are not worth mentioning at all in front of Orochimaru. What is it to change the head? Orochimaru directly changed the appearance of Yuya's three ghosts. This also made Yuya finally dare to summon her summoned beast in front of everyone and use all her strength. In addition to this, Orochimaru also developed some simple sound ninjutsu for Yuya. In Orochimaru's words, this is bluffing and makes Yuya look more like a swordsman. The arena prepared for the knockout rounds is different. Various equipments that can broadcast pictures and sounds are arranged below the arena. Therefore, the conversation between Lancer and Yuya was not only heard by themselves, but also by everyone in the stadium through the delayed broadcast. "So, boy, have you asked me if you want to strike up a conversation with the goddess?" Someone in the audience suddenly shouted. Chin Luo has a little influence on this person. Isn't this Yuya's opponent in the points competition, and he has become a fan of Yuya. With a gun, if you dare to touch a hair on the goddess, don't even think about walking out of this arena. This is another irritable fan. Spearman did not expect that he would still receive blessings, but this kind of blessings is not worth it. The spearman was considering whether to abstain. If you can't beat him, you can't run away, and you have to be scolded, how can there be such a loss in the world? You don't have to pay attention to them, let's have an upright contest. Yuya said. "Sister, fairy, goddess, please say one word less, every word you say now is my reminder." The gunman listened to the threat in the audience escalating. At this time, the MC of the game finally started to work, helping the spearmen to clear the siege. I really like these enthusiastic audiences, but I sincerely remind the audience that it is very easy to miss the highlights. Our players seem to be ready, and the game will start soon. Mr. MC said a few playful words. Seeing that the topic has been successfully changed, they quickly started the game. 0, 3, 2, 1. The countdown ends with the master of ceremonies. The spearman and Taiyu also moved. A piece of training was spilled by Duoyu also when she pulled out the long sword around her waist. The essence of Pai Lian is a sound blade composed of sword energy and chakra. It lies low and reaches the spearman in an instant at the speed of sound. The spearmen seemed to have been prepared for a long time, and the spears were pointing down, just nailing the horses that had just arrived on the ground. The sound blade was broken, and the attack of the spearmen came. The head of the gun that penetrated the floor of the arena was provoked, and it was picked up, and the broken stones were mixed with one after another of sharp slashes to attack Yuya. Duoyu couldn't figure out the reality of this move, so he stepped back to the other side. At this time, people saw that Yuya was holding a new sword in his hand. The name of the sword is Shuiyan. It is a slender single-edged sword. The body of the sword is like snow, the blade is like ice, and there are small holes on the back of the sword. The holes are connected to each other, just like a flute. This structure helps Taiyu to release the sound of ninjutsu more easily. Although the Shuiyan sword was shown to everyone for the first time, the swordsman who really knew it could see the power of this sword in an instant. Chapter 693 Sound, Perpetual Motion. Orochimaru is really a genius. He has studied many things for immortality. The weapons of the 7 ninja swordsmen were studied by him in the early days. It's true that Shueyin specially let Orochimaru forge by Qin Luo, but Qin Luo didn't expect Orochimaru to be able to do this. It's just that not counting the help of ninjutsu, the snow sound sword itself is no worse than any other big quick sword. In this regard, Orochimaru also regretted that if the world of pirates did not have the metal that can absorb chakra, this knife could be stronger. Qin Luo had no idea of the strength of weapons, and he didn't know much about the realm that Shueyin's sword could achieve. Artifact, or a demigod. At most, he could only get a glimpse of Tayuya's complicated expression full of joy and regret. It should be strong. But this is the end of the matter. After throwing the snow sound sword to Tayuya, Orochimaru solemnly told Qin Luo not to bother him with such trivial matters in the future. He is not a blacksmith. In the face of the spearman's attack, Duoyu also decided to avoid its edge first. Crushed stones are not difficult, and various gun shadows are not troublesome. But when the two are combined, Duoyu is a bit dizzying, especially when there is a spearman who is hiding behind these attacks. Tayuya stepped back while being vigilant for those who might be in trouble, and when she encountered rubble that could not be avoided, she would use the snow sound sword to slice it open like cutting tofu. Despite this, Taiyu lost the spearman, and he disappeared from her sight. At this time, the master of ceremonies finally remembered that he seemed to still have a job as a commentator. In normal battles, the first round is a mutual test attack, and will not use all your strength, just like what Tayuya did. However, our other player is not like that. He tried his best from the start. Is there any tactic? At this moment, the top of Tayuya's head turned black, and a shadow enveloped her. Duoyu didn't even look up to see what was going on, and immediately fled from his current location. In the next second, the disappearing spearmen swooped down with their spearheads pointed to the ground, digging out a big hole in the original position of Tayuya. The spearman pulled out the spearhead from the ground with a wry smile. He could feel the difference between the two, both in terms of strength and the number of fans. The only hope is that Duoyu was caught off guard at the beginning. Although he also knew that this kind of idea was a bit whimsical, he still felt a pity after the plan was broken. The yin and the yin are not good, and the luck is not good. He can't even stab a beautiful young lady. What is the use of this long spear? However, the game was going to continue, and the regrouped spearmen threw a beautiful spear and stared at Tayuya. Compared to the solemnity of the spearmen, Duoyu was much more relaxed. The Shueyin sword was held diagonally by her right hand, and she watched the spearman adjust his condition with ease. Through a round of hand-to-hand combat, Duoyu also had a rough judgment on the strength of the spearman. As long as the opponent did not deliberately hide the setbacks, she was confident that she would win within 100 moves. However, this takes too long and is more troublesome. Taiyu also wanted to end the battle quickly, but she was actually a little dissatisfied with her ranking. In this case, only close combat is possible. The eyes of the two sides met in the air, as if each of them could see through the other's mind. With a both sides moved. One silver and one white streamer streaked across the arena, and the sword shadow and the gun shadow were intertwined, and a firework-like light erupted between Duoyu and the spearman. The players on both sides chose to attack each other, and at this time the advantage of hand length is reflected. Even if they lose in speed and strength, the long attack range of the spear brings more room for maneuvering, which makes the situation appear 55-50. But I always feel something is wrong, but where is it? With the explanation, the picture on the big screen was zoomed in, and the red face of the spearman was the best explanation. It's not easy for any guy who has two jobs. As the MC and commentator of the knockout match, there is really something. Successful casters tend to control the mood and rhythm of the audience, and he does. Even Olivia and Momoshige couldn't help being curious and asked. It's the voice. Also from the world of Hokage, Tsunade knew something about the sound of Ninja Village. To be precise, she knew a little about Orochimaru, who founded the Oninin village, and collected some information about Oninin. But how did she do it, Muji? It is very difficult to Yuyan in such a dense slash, but it is a bit uncertain to say that it is Muji Tsunade. If Muji ninjutsu was so easy to develop, Spiral Maru and Chidori would not be so famous in Naruto. Shinluo shook his head and said, it's mainly due to that sword. This sword made by Orochimaru can store sound. Storing sounds, it sounds incredible, but it's true. Using the control of sound and simple handprints, Duoyu can also absorb the surrounding sound into the holes of the Shuiyan sword body, amplify it and release it before recycling. Sounds like a perpetual motion machine. Not to mention Shinluo's decryption, the audience in the arena also guessed the answer one after another. Because the sound jumped out on its own. Through repeated collisions and cycles, the sound of the snow sound sword was so loud that it could reach the audience. In one fell swoop, after the sword and the spear collided, a loud bang struck everyone's heart. With the audience so far apart, the pressure of the spearman can be imagined. From the spearman's ears to his entire face, the red blood vessels began to be infected with an eerie purple color. The last two shots of the spear and sword collided, and the spearman was staggered, and he couldn't hold it any longer. Immediately after, the spear was knocked out of the hands of the pikeman. With a touch, the sound of something shattering was concealed under the loud noise, and blood spilled from the spearman's ears and corners of his mouth. It's time to give the opponent the final blow to end the fight, and the sound is almost enough. Duoyu didn't miss this opportunity either. He drew a circle with his longsword 0.0, trying to bring up the power of heaven and earth, as if a transparent flame was ignited in the air. The air isn't actually burning, but the sound of compression vibrates the air to the point where it's visible to the naked eye. The transparent flame spun around with Tayuya's longsword, condensed into a monster that looked like a tiger but not a tiger, and slashed out. The monster roared, crushing the air and ground all the way. In the end, the monster ran past the spearman without hitting the spearman directly. Because a direct hit will kill you. There was no suspense about the outcome, and Duoyu also showed mercy, and the spearman directly chose to admit defeat. Don't worry, it's just a temporary deafness, your ears are fine. Duoyu also said when passing by the spearman. Looked stunned, what Areyu said. Chapter 694 Kuzan Exposed. Until the MC announced the results of the competition, many people in the audience did not respond. They grew their mouths and even forgot to applaud and congratulate their goddess. When you realize that your goddess is not only beautiful, but also the 10th dan of judo, what kind of expression do you have? Available options are: 1. The black face is stunned. 2. Zhang Xiaoshan's grim face. 3. Curator Kim's bitter smile. The choice will vary from person to person, but some say I want them all. Especially someone like Hawkeye who considers himself to be a strong suitor. Mostly because she is very strong, otherwise she would not have appeared in the top 32 of the casino rankings. But there is a difference between strong and strong. Not only Hawkeye, including many fans of Tayuya, they all feel that Tayuya's strength is based on the strange ability attached to her swordsmanship. For orthodox kendo, this kind of swordsmanship with special effects all belong to the side door. In other words, they did not admit that Tayuya's swordsmanship really reached the level of the top 32. The struggle between the orthodox left and the sects cannot be spared anywhere. In addition, Taiyu is also a woman, so women's path in kendo is always rougher than men's. But now these criticisms do not exist. Tayuya's last sword did not slash at the spearman, but slapped the faces of these people with a snack. The strength of the spearman is actually decent, but with his full blow, he can only dig out some small pits in the competition arena, which is a little insignificant in front of Tayuya's slash. After taking a look at the ravine of nearly 100 meters, the final cut almost turned the competition venue into a library. Hawkeye thinks that he can also slash with this kind of power, but he can't act as easily as Tayuya. His heart suddenly became a little heavy, because he remembered what the other party said when he wanted to invite Yuya to dinner. Let's talk about it when you get the place in this competition, I'll think about it then. The memory is so clear, as if it happened yesterday. But to what extent this ranking should be, it should be higher than the other party. Hawkeye felt the pressure, and Duoyu's strength after finding new weapons made him a little incomprehensible. Shanks and Beckman did not dare to use Eagle Eyes this time. Just kidding, the power of that blow, if not using Haki, Shanks can't guarantee that he can do it, which makes him and Beckman very embarrassed. But no matter what, it is a good thing that Duoyu also becomes stronger, for her supporters. The cheers that belonged to Yuya erupted after she left, and it didn't die out for a long time. Fortunately, the MC was old enough to guide the audience in time without affecting the subsequent games. In addition to the special situation of Duoyuya, the list of subsequent knockout matches are strictly carried out in accordance with the unique, random drawing, method of the event side. It's fairly fair. The proportion of users of armed prosthetics in the top 128 is very high. In the following games, players with armed prostheses will play almost every other game, which shows the strength of armed prosthetics. This number was further reduced, and a bunch of non-combat type and less powerful armed prosthetics were broken in the points race. Games without acquaintances are a bit boring, especially when half of these games are related to semi-finished products such as armed prosthetics. Chin-Luo can't stand it. Having obtained part of the power of the animals to which the armed prosthesis belongs, these people's attributes have gone up, but they have no skill at all. Their battles are often like this: I push you, you pull me, punch and kick, whoever can't get up first will lose. Between this kind of flesh and blood, the fight from fist to flesh can always detonate screams again and again, but for some reason it always gives Chin-Luo a kind of turn-based egg pain. Isn't it just trying to work hard? Just set up a table and wrestle your arms. This boredom continued until someone showed up. Said that since Kuzan, the Marine Quasi-Admiral, changed his identity and entered the martial arts conference, this person disappeared out of thin air. Chin-Luo wondered if the last time he ruthlessly exposed Kuzan's identity had caused him too much psychological shadow, which made him become so cautious. If it weren't for some accidents, Kuzan might have been in the round of 16 like Orochimaru. Kuzan's appearance at this time is a pirate with 5 big and 3 thick, a worn-out pirate captain's hat, and his right leg is replaced by a metal pole. In addition to the fat and black hair, the bare upper body is covered with various scars. People, in the end, will always turn out to be what they hate. However, a Marine would, the Admiral dress up as a pirate. That picture does require some imagination. The pirate Kuzan pretends to be is not a nobody, a captain of a pirate group who has honorably retired from the New World. He has neither a right leg nor a crew, but his strong melee combat skills and Haki allow him to live very happily. Now it seems that the captain's glorious retirement is false, and it is true that Kuzan was caught in Impel Down. Kuzan's exposure is a bit innocent. First, he has not revealed his fruit ability, and second, he has not done strange actions. He uses Haki and manual skills, which he is not good at. Kuzan may not even know he's been spotted. Who would have thought that Kuzan's opponents have been hiding, from the audition to the first round of the Knockout 017. Kuzan was caught off guard by the opponent's sudden outburst, showing a skill that a pirate shouldn't have. Techniques in the pirate world are born out of Marine Rokushiki. When compared with the real Marine Rokushiki, there is still a difference between cloud and mud. That is something that only the top Marines and the main combat power can master. I'm sure the pirate just now used the pure Kami-e, the full version. Momoshiki said in surprise. You must know that you can learn from the Marine Rokushiki ensign level and above, but those are all castrated versions. The Gorosei 5 elders are shrewd, and only the upper echelons are qualified to learn the essence. So when Kuzan showed this level of Kami-e, he was recognized by Momoshiki, who was familiar with it, albeit only for a moment. After that, Chin-Luo's eyes also confirmed Kuzan's identity. With such a big lump of ice scum, it's hard for Chin Luo to not see it. Chin Luo sometimes wonders how such a coincidence can happen in the world. Before, he was still worried about how to make Marine witness Vegapunk being taken away by other forces, and he would not have any doubts. Then Kuzan showed up, and it was literally a pillow when you dozed off. A bold idea was generated in Chin Luo's mind. That, Kuzan actor, I have a script here for you to take it. Chapter 695. That's a moving target. The match ended with Kuzan punching his opponent. It's really not easy for the one who has been frustrated all the way. The previous forbearance and the blockbuster blueprint are all illusory. He didn't even force Kuzan's fruit ability. Bosses in the game, are you kidding me? But at least they didn't encounter Orochimaru. Since the actors were undecided and the script was not yet available, Chin Luo did not immediately go to tease Kuzan. Others are so diligently covering themselves up, it's not too much to give some support and understanding. Chin Luo didn't worry about Kuzan getting lost. The respectful face of the other party could be recognized by him from a few hundred meters away. The players in the next game are a bit interesting, and finally it is Chin Luo's acquaintances' turn to appear. Beckman walked up unhurriedly with his hands in his pockets, his face unchanged all the year round, and he looked like he was owed millions of dollars when he met anyone. This made Beckman's opponent a little confused. It hasn't even started yet, so why did he get into trouble with the big guy on the opposite side? This Shangtai fanned the bat-like wings on his back uneasily, intending to fly into the air first. It is true that Beckman's opponent is a user of an armed prosthesis, but the faction he belongs to the tail of the crane in Vegapunk's 8 big fan groups. On weekdays, this force and another force in North Blue who share the same affliction together to keep warm, and promote it as a mutual aid union. However, more people are willing to call them a mob. It is conceivable that such a force can obtain the resource tilt of the competition party. 128 in the knockout rounds is set, it cannot be changed later, which means that the opponents behind the players are all traceable. Seed players, of their own forces, will definitely make it to the top 32, weaker chickens like Batman become abandoned sons and fill in some pits. It can't be that all powerful dark horses will not encounter users of armed prosthetics. The audience is not a fool, and you will protest if you operate too much in the dark. The strength of Beckman's performance in the auditions and the points match, Batman is very clear, he is nothing more than a symbolic struggle. Cough. This contestant, I can understand your eagerness to start the game, but the gift of reconciliation is indispensable. The master of ceremonies coughed and frantically hinted at someone who had already flown into the air. Batman's face turned pale, and then he realized that he had forgotten about it. As long as it is not a life and death battle, before any form of discussion, the two sides will perform a ceremony of reconciliation, which means that this game is not divided into life and death, but only high and low. Martial arts tournament is a regular competition, and the ceremony of reconciliation is even more indispensable. Amid the roar of laughter, Batman slowly descended, clasped his fists at Beckman from a distance of 10 meters, and said, "Please be merciful." Through the video, Batman's voice spread throughout the arena, but not many people laughed at him this time. Beckman and Batman are too different in strength. This can be seen from the odds of the two sides. 1.01 to 25, the former is Beckman's odds to win, the latter is Batman. The odds illustrate a truth. You put 1,000 Bailey on Beckman and you win 10 Bailey, and you put 1,000 Bailey on Batman and you lose 1,000 Bailey. So at this time, all bets on Batman are the dream of buying firsthand. If there is a 1 in 10,000 probability that something in the Beckman family will abstain. And as Beckman stepped onto the court, the 1 in 10,000 possibility would be gone, and there is no suspense in this game. Beckman cast a glance at Batman, ignoring his plans at all, and looked into the distance to himself, not knowing what he was thinking. Shanks, who is familiar with him, can understand that his co-captain didn't take his opponent in this round at all. He should be thinking about the tactics and movement of the next round by taking the opportunity to play. As for Batman's begging for mercy, Beckman's thoughts must be like this. This is very strange. A mobile target shooter begs for mercy, should the shooter miss it? Batman ate a closed door. His face was a little embarrassed and worried. He quickly asked the MC if he could act. After the master of ceremonies nodded, he flew into the air non-stop, releasing ultrasonic waves throughout the arena. The game officially started. Beckman retracted his thoughts, silently pulled out the rifle from his waist and put it on his shoulder. Turning his eyes, he glanced at the Batman who was running around in the air. The rifle slid in an arc in Beckman's hand, and the gun's eye locked on him instantly. Batman turned pale in shock. Only by facing Beckman's muzzle in person could he feel the suffocation like being stared at by the god of death. Especially knowing from the ultrasonic feedback that the opponent's gun was not just pointed at random, but really locked on him, the bitterness in Batman's heart was even deeper. He didn't even have time to smile bitterly. Batman tried to get rid of the opponent's sniping with the greatest speed. With a bang, the trigger was pulled, and the jet black bullet was shot out of the barrel with fire. How could the opponent's bullets be so fast? Batman tried his best to escape, but in the end he was left with a bullet hole in the left wing by the bullet, which greatly reduced his speed. Such shooting results did not satisfy Beckman. The rifle held in one hand poured bullets one after another, maintaining a frequency of once per second, hitting Batman continuously. First the left shoulder, the right leg, and then the other wing. Batman was dominated by bullets, and his shaky body seemed to be dancing a bloody ballet. If it wasn't for Beckman's strict no-kill rule, the bullet holes would be in Batman's head and heart. The audience was quiet, and the MC couldn't find any good words to explain the game. This was a complete unilateral killing. Batman, who was shot 4 times in a row, didn't dare to take any chances. He shredded his clothes and threw them into the air. Black dust diffused from the fragments of the clothes and gradually shrouded the arena. This is Batman's last trump card. He is not a gunman and is not allowed to wait for props such as smoke bombs, so he made his shirt into a smoke bomb and pierced it, which was considered a loophole in the rules of the game. The black dust sewn into the clothes has a characteristic. Not only is the light transmittance low, but it is also extremely durable. It can even last for 20 minutes in the absence of strong winds. This time is enough for him to dodge the opponent's gunfire, and maybe he can fight back. No matter how strong a gunman is, he will not be slaughtered after he becomes blind. There was a lot of scolding on the field, and they all asked to disperse the smoke. The screen is all one piece, and this game is so hard to watch. Batman directly ignored the protests from the audience and focused on using ultrasound to lock Beckman's every move. Just wait for the smoke to completely cover the arena, that's when he shoots. Chapter 696 Society I Mango. Batman was determined to hide in the black smoke and could not come out. So Beckman, who had not been swallowed by black smoke on the field, became the only focus of everyone. And what did this man do in this situation? He put the rifle down and tucked it under his arm, groping with his right hand in his jacket pocket. Both the audience and the MC are guessing what means Beckman has to solve the current situation. Did the gunman prepare a weapon to deal with the smoke bomb in advance? Infrared heat source sight, automatic lock hanging, or other black technology? Even Batman arched his body alertly, ready to evade Beckman's attack. Then, in full view of the public, Beckman took out a cigarette, lit it, put it in his mouth and puffed it. Turtle, you are not willing to make smoke by your opponent alone, and you have to do something. There was a gasp in the audience, and they were all stunned by Beckman's fascination. Boss, you can be serious, you are still in the game. And most importantly, Beckman's behavior seduced all the old smokers. Gunman, you are committing a crime. The no smoking rule in the auditorium was briefly broken. A group of old smokers took out their cigarettes, lit them, and took a deep breath. Phew, it's comfortable now. The MC didn't please either. The moment Beckman drew out his cigarette, he was choked on his own saliva. During the broadcast, the MC kept coughing. In order to divert the embarrassment, the MC had to forcefully explain. This thing tells us that the most important thing a good shooter needs is calm. No matter what kind of predicament you face, you can't be affected by anxiety in the first place. Alright, I know you're good at breaking things, but if I don't stop, I'll slap you in the face. If I really believed you're evil, I would be a fool. There were some things the audience didn't say, but the look of disgust on their faces said it all. A little farce can't affect the two people on the field, one is only concerned with smoking, the other is a patient assassin. The black smoke moved faster than expected, approaching Beckman's side in the blink of an eye. A good assassin should be calm at times like this. Batman knows this very well, but he can't stop the excitement in his heart. During the points race, the Batman has terrain to use. With the Bat's ultrasonic positioning and silent flight, he is always in a good position. A place shrouded in darkness is like home, and he likes it very much. In any form of martial arts competition, there are laws known as the three major illusions. They can't see me, I can show, and I can fight back. Because in his home, Batman is so inflated that he has all three illusions. Leaving aside the last 2 points, how can Batman be sure that Beckman can't see him? Halfway through the cigarette burning, it happened to be the time when Batman's heart fluctuated the most. There was a smile on Beckman's mouth. The ultrasound didn't capture the change in Beckman's expression, leaving Batman with the only chance he could remedy. Beckman raised the rifle to his shoulders, held it in both hands, and held his breath to aim somewhere in the black smoke. The Batman had a sudden cardiac arrest. The ultrasound clearly showed that the other party was not aiming at him, but why did he feel locked? Beckman just stood there, motionless, until the black smoke swallowed the rifle and brought him into the range little by little. At the moment when Beckman's last foot was also wrapped in black smoke, he moved. The muzzle of the gun was raised suddenly, and 3 firelights flashed in the darkness. After the bang bang bang, everything was calm. After a while, the rustling sound of objects being dragged came from the arena, and a person walked out of the black smoke. It was Beckman, who put the rifle back into his waist and dragged the unconscious Batman with his left hand. Behind Batman is a long trail of blood that stretches out of the smoke until Beckman throws it out of the ring. According to the rules, Batman who loses consciousness and is thrown out of the ring is automatically the loser. Then, the MC's voice sounded timely. The winner of this round is Ben Beckman. The audience did not hesitate to give their applause, but they had a doubt, what was released in the smoke. Therefore, the guys who engage in smoke bombs in the ring are all orphans, and then the tournament should directly disqualify those who dare to throw smoke bombs. The audience wanted the MC to interview Beckman, but upon closer inspection, there was no sign of Beckman in the ring. The guy walked away without a word. In the society I am mange, people are very talkative. The master of ceremonies said that his work was too difficult to carry out, and he was full of problem players. Biting the bullet, the MC said his wrong guess. Everyone must be curious about how the Beckman contestant aimed at the opponent in the dark. The MC pointed out the doubts in everyone's heart, and the audience turned to the commentary where the MC was. After pondering for a while and getting enough attention, the MC said, "Actually, I also want to know." In order not to provoke public anger, the MC who was skinned hurriedly said again, "A top-level gunslinger, his aiming methods are more than just eyesight, murderousness, perception ability, observation hockey, etc. As far as I know, the common methods are no less than 5 species. In the game just now, the method used by Beckman was probably observation hockey. Although it was short-lived, I did feel an explosive momentum. It is also very possible to perceive through murderousness, but this is only the 2 parties involved. Can be determined." Quote. The rich experience made the MC successfully escape the crisis of being reported. Although it is just a guess, it makes so much sense that the audience also buys it. As for whether this is the case, only Beckman himself knows. As long as Beckman didn't want to say it, no one dared to take the answer out of the old man's mouth. He will probably reward you with a bullet and drag your body into the sea. When they think of Beckman's icy expression, the reporters will automatically make up the picture. and they will calm down no matter how strong the urge to interview. Therefore, no reporter dared to do it, knowing that Beckman's interview could be a hit. The knockout on the first day can only be described as okay. Because of the arrangement of the tournament party, the game basically presented a one-sided situation. If it weren't for one or two contests between equivalent opponents, it is estimated that many people would shout for refunds. At the same time, this situation also made people see the gap between the top 128 and the top 32. Those guys who have been lamenting bad luck and finishing second in the group in the points race have nothing to say. How about entering the knockout stage with their strength? It is enough to take the top 64. As for the top 32 games, the only way is to buy tickets to enter. The auditorium is where they should be. Chapter 697. Please, props group. Whether the audience is satisfied or not, such games will continue for a few more days. Until the 32-strong competition, the game will enter a real anxious period. After the game, Darwin, the head of the dinosaur family, sent someone to wait at the door of Chin Luo's box and invited them to attend tonight's banquet. But congratulations on the complete success of today's game. Except for the opening ceremony, the rest of the game was boring and almost cured Chin Luo's insomnia for many years. Forget it, as long as you want to do something like a banquet, you can really find the reason. Chin Luo and the three daughters looked at each other and complained in their hearts. At the same time, they also felt the anxiety of the head of the dinosaur family. It was only a day later, and he couldn't wait to find Chin Luo to talk. In the end, Chin Luo and the others still refused the invitation. You can go, but you don't have to. What Chin Luo needs is to agree to Darwin's request at the right time. Since I didn't agree on the spot at that time, what is it after another day? The so-called, think about it, is too hasty. You know, because it is easy to get, it is not only love that is not cherished. The best time is when Itachi arrives and all preparations are done, which gives Darwin no chance to even go back. This point was discussed by the four Chin Luo together. Speaking of this, Chin Luo felt that he had to go to Orochimaru. The exposed Kuzan provides an important cast for Chin Luo's plan, and the script is revolving around Vegapunk and Kuzan. But what about the script alone? Chin Luo went to the props team for support this time. The environment of Orochimaru's new laboratory is really hard to see at a glance. It used to be at least the basement of a warehouse, but now it has been moved directly into the sewer. It is said that the sewers are the hometown of snakes, worms, and ants. Chin Luo used to be a little disapproving, but after Orochimaru and Ratman Beta hooked up, they really only played with reality. Benefits are also obvious, and no one else wants to find Orochimaru's new laboratory. Even though he had a sense of Orochimaru, Chin Luo barely found the location of Orochimaru after making rounds and turns in the sewer. The strange smell along the way never stopped, but Chin Luo gave up after thinking about teleportation. Chin Luo's teleportation is to turn himself into a part of water for transfer, but the water in the sewers is all sewage. If something goes wrong, the fun will be great. Looking hesitantly at the large water pipe 2 meters in diameter in front of him, there is still a little sewage flowing out from the bottom of the water pipe. But according to the sensory display, Orochimaru was right there at the moment. Chin Luo suspiciously knocked on the wall of the water pipe, and whispered, "Orochimaru, it's me." There was no response other than the echo in the large water pipe. Could it be that he shouted too softly? So Chin Luo increased the volume and continued to shout. As the saying goes, when Chin Luo shouted for the 4th time, a sound of stone bricks moving suddenly sounded behind him, a piece of the original wall disappeared from the middle, and Orochimaru in a white robe came out. "Stop shouting, my experiments have been influenced by you. Hey, isn't this going to call you out?" The effect is remarkable. Chin Luo didn't feel any guilt for disturbing the people, and entered his laboratory with Orochimaru. After Chin Luo entered, the moving wall closed again with a rumble. "If you want to drink tea, pour it yourself." After saying that, Orochimaru didn't want to waste a moment, and continued to immerse himself in dealing with the new subjects on the experimental table. Orochimaru, I need you to do me a favor. Chinluo said. No time. A certain snake. Don't worry, I won't let you work in vain this time, I'll give you something. When Chinluo called his summoned subordinates to help, he had to use coercion and inducement. Back then, the Orochi pill gift package was a pit. Loyalty was like a joke, and no one had the autonomy. I'm sorry. This time is a technical job, only a genius like you can do it. You must help me. In order to obtain the victory, Chinluo even used the method of flattering. Look for another wise man. Orochimaru's answer was still so brief and direct, and there seemed to be some regularity. Don't you just listen to the content of the task first, I guarantee you will be interested after listening. Also, watch me answer, not only 5 words. Chinluo said. Oh, Orochimaru looked up at Chinluo and immediately lowered it again. Oh, your sister. Chinluo wanted to beat up Orochi pills, which were too salty. The conversation was deadlocked, and Chinluo looked at the new laboratory while thinking about the way to say Orochimaru. In terms of area, this one is not as big as the original basement, so it seems a bit crowded. There were only 10 glass jars left. After a few days of absence, Orochimaru replenished the experimental subjects in these glass jars, filling the vacancy of the first batch of experimental subjects who had all died. 9 glass jars are arranged in a circle and placed in the very center of the laboratory. The remaining glass jar is located in the center of the circle. Obviously, the experimental body placed in this glass jar is somewhat special. Although the subject's entire body was wrapped in some kind of black cloth, countless wires were inserted into the subject's body. Chinluo still recognized the identity of the experimental subject at a glance, mainly because the other party's broken arm was somewhat obvious. 0. Gladius, the cadre who was tied up by Orochimaru from Doflamingo. Chinluo's memory of him is still stuck in the scene where he almost exploded after being fed some medicine by Orochi pills last time. Orochimaru is really vengeful, he really wants to transform Gladius into a mourner of the Don Quixote family. Suddenly, Chinluo had a flash of inspiration, and he thought of a way to convince Orochimaru. Regardless of whether Orochimaru was listening or not, Chinluo said, this time I need to make Marine fight with a certain force, and the fuse is Vegapunk. Marine's purpose is Vegapunk. You said that if a certain force secretly took it away, what will happen to Vegapunk? That Kuzan prospective admiral will definitely have a fight with each other. Quote. Having said this, Chinluo deliberately paused and said, actually, I have not decided which faction is better. What about the Don Quixote family? This family is also very powerful, will it be easily killed by Marine for a while? Quote. Orochimaru's movements stopped, and he was still listening. Hee, it seems that you can't do it without helping you. Tell me all your plans. As he spoke, the scalpel in Orochimaru's hand slashed the subject's throat. The subject died on the spot, and the experiment was declared a failure. This knife is called a flowing cloud. With this proficiency, there are not 100 experimental materials that have been destroyed in his hands, but there are dozens. Chinluo was a little ashamed, but he seemed to have grasped some ways to communicate with Orochimaru. Chapter 698 Fight on behalf of. Orochimaru is either not interested, but when he is interested, he is full of sincerity. Not only did he solve the unsatisfactory experimental subjects, but he also poured a cup of tea and brought 2 stools to Chinluo's side, ready for a long conversation. Society. Orochi pills can be real to such an extent that you, curry people, know that. Chinluo silently smiled bitterly, and then, with the tea handed by Orochimaru, expressed their undecided ideas. Chinluo was even a little nervous about whether Orochimaru would refuse to participate because he disliked this half-finished plan. Orochimaru's expression told Chinluo that his apprehension was completely unnecessary, and the man on the other side was even more excited after learning that the plan had not been finalized. Don't mind if I contribute to this plan. Under the finely chopped hair, Orochimaru's eyes shone brightly, a look of impending success. Implication is that Orochimaru is going to blatantly fake public welfare and avenge private revenge. This matter is also boring. Chinluo thought that it was miserable to target the Don Quixote family, but Orochimaru was not satisfied. He wanted to do something big. Such a precedent can't be opened casually. Is it possible to promise such a thing with Chinluo's character? Orochimaru righteously and said, OJBK, there is no problem at all. At the same time, he made an, okay, gesture and gave Orochimaru a deal look. Hey, Chinluo thought about it and found that he didn't reject Orochimaru's position at all. A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist, so Chinluo will follow the trend. In the plan, framing the Don Quixote family is the key. First of all, Vegapunk will be taken away by the Don Quixote family in the presence of Kuzan's own eyes. It is relatively easy to send Vegapunk away, but you can't really let Vegapunk work for the Don Quixote family. Chinluo's devil fruit greenhouse farming plan still needs this scientific genius to be implemented. The difficulty is convincing both Marine and the Don Quixotes that Vegapunk is in the Don Quixote's hands until Vegapunk disappears. Ordinary disappearance is not enough. To really dispel the suspicions of Marine and the Don Quixote family, Vegapunk must die once and appear in front of both sides as a corpse. So the key to the plan is how Vegapunk disappears after leaving his corpse behind. The teleportation ability of the Overlord of Chinluohai is quite secret, but this ability is a single ticket, and every time he takes people, he must use the Shinwei space to load people. If one of these methods is not done well, and there are some flaws, the whole plan will be given away. There are two things that need to be prepared. One is the body of Vegapunk. After a pause, Chinluo stretched out two fingers and continued, the second thing. Orochimaru, what do you think of the shadow clone? The shadow clone was brought out by Tsunade. The same people in the Naruto world have seen various clown manipulations, and Orochimaru immediately reacted. Doppelganger, this is a good choice. With a smile on the corner of Orochiwan's mouth, he knew Chinluo's plan and said, it's not difficult. But I have one request. What? There are still requests. Chinluo exclaimed, it was mainly Orochimaru's request, can it be agreed casually? The planned time is a bit rushed. It is not easy to make a fake corpse in a limited time. I have to do my best, understand? Orochimaru slapped, you understand. Look to Chinluo. But Chin didn't have a tacit understanding with Orochimaru, and he was really at a loss. So, Chinluo asked in a low voice. Orochimaru retracted his eyes angrily and said, so I won't be able to participate in tomorrow's game and all the games that follow. Hey, it's a big deal. If you don't participate, you won't participate. I still lack your prizes. Come on, if you want a devil fruit or an armed prosthesis, I'll give you the salary instead of the prize. Chinluo waved his hand. Before the devil fruit it is rare for him to be generous. Hee, you think I'm attracted to that little thing? Orochimaru sneered and continued. I participated in the competition to collect data on experimental subjects. Chinluo subconsciously thought that the data that Orochimaru wanted was the battle data with armed prosthetic users, so he suggested that Taiyu also write thousands of post-war testimonials to Orochimaru after the battle. What are you talking about? This is the experimental body I'm referring to. Orochimaru glanced at Chinluo with disgust, and then took out a meat bead from his arms. This thing Chinluo said was familiar. The last time Orochimaru changed from a big fish man back to the original, this is what he was holding in his hand. Experimental body, shouldn't this bead be the one that disappeared from the first batch of experimental bodies? Chinluo said in disbelief as if he had thought of something. That's right. What I want you to do is to use this bead instead of me to disguise as Fishman and continue the game. Don't worry, it will do the data collection on its own, it's very smart. Orochi directly put the meat bead on Chinluo's hands, before he refused. It's not very good. Chinluo felt a little weird when he thought that the beads in his hand were actually a living person. And he has to put this person outside, there is a weird feeling of wearing a human fur coat. But in the end Chin Luo put it in a container and took it away after asking how to use the meat beads. Isn't it just playing on behalf of him? Chin Luo took the list. Leaving, Orochimaru said behind Chin Luo, warm reminder, tomorrow's opponent is an acquaintance. Originally, I wanted to relax my heart through pleasure. Chin Luo instinctively felt that Orochimaru would not aimlessly, so he quickly checked Orochimaru's opponent on the way back. After this investigation, Chin Luo couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat for someone. Orochimaru's original opponent, that is, Chin Luo's tomorrow's enemy, is Corazon of the Don Quixote family. Corazon broke into the knockout stage with a beautiful assassination, shameless sneak attack technique, but was directly abandoned by his brother. A cadre of the Don Quixote family was sent to the front of Orochimaru. No wonder Orochimaru can say things like, pleasure the heart. If Chin Luo hadn't replaced Orochimaru, Corazon would have really made him happy. After another fight, the props group was settled, and a double agent was rescued along the way. Chin Luo felt that not only did he not lose, but he also made a small profit. Corazon, a double agent, is very important, and he is a key figure related to the fruit of the scalpel. Until there is no better way, Gorosei 5 Elders, mutated fruit of life and immortality surgery are the only hope for immortality for Momoshiki and Olivia. Chapter 699 Halo Zang Demo. Chin Luo has 1/5 of the mutant life fruit in his hand. If you think about it carefully, it's been a long time to start this part, but Chin Luo has never used it on Momoshiki and Olivia. Anyone who eats the mutated fruit of life gets immortality and resurrection ability, and at the same time ties their life to the devil fruit tree that Chin Luo has never seen before. Therefore, this mutant life fruit can only be used as an expensive collectible, and it has always been stored in the system. However, it is claimed that Luyun is used up. A mortal surgery, carried out by the scalpel. Although the immortality surgery is still a mystery, and the fruit has not appeared, this does not prevent Chin Luo from liking it. With Orochimaru and Vegapunk around, it's only a matter of time before the hardest puzzle. Unconsciously, while Chin Luo was thinking, he returned to the hotel room. As soon as the door of the hotel suite was opened, Tsunade in the living room asked. Orochimaru agreed. Chin Luo frowned and found that his ability had been seriously questioned. This level could be considered a credit crisis, right? It went very well. I went out in person. What else could go wrong with 19? Orochimaru was almost on his knees and asked to participate in this plan. Fortunately, I was quick enough to respond. Orochi pill pouring tea for him appeared in Chin Luo's mind. In fact, if the chair hadn't been right next to him, Orochimaru would have sat down on his knees to talk to him. Chin Luo felt that there was nothing wrong with what he said, and it was completely a reasonable speculation in fact. Ha ha. Tsunade sneered and gave Chin Luo a contemptuous look. It's fine, don't ask us to solve it when something goes wrong. Chin Luo choked for a moment. His big man only lasted for a few seconds before being collapsed by Tsunade's words. No way, he happened to have something to ask Tsunade to do. Chin Luo scratched his head with his right hand and said with a ha-ha, Tsunade, I have something I want to trouble you with. Mainly because I see that Orochimaru is too busy and I don't have enough time. I want to help him share. Speak human words. Tsunade interrupted Chin Luo who was in chatter mode at the right time. Orochimaru asked me to help him play the next game, so he agreed to help. Chin Luo said blankly. Tsunade gave off an, I know, expression, so what? Will you be a clone? Chin Luo asked, only to realize that he had asked a very stupid question. Asking a ninja village chief if he can do avatars is as stupid as asking Yao Ming if he can play basketball. Tsunade had a black question mark on his face. Standing aside, watching another self molesting his own woman, Chin Luo finally got a taste today. A kind of green is looming on Chin Luo's head. It is so different, it is fresh and refined, and it is full of forgiveness. summoned a shadow avatar, and she herself transformed into Chin Luo's appearance in Calgary through transformation, and frantically molested Momosegi's 2 hands stretched out from Momosegi's collar and skirt respectively. The picture can be said to be very yellow and violent. Chin Luo was hesitating whether he should take this green hat. This was what Chin Luo asked Tsunade to do yesterday, because he wanted to help Orochimaru play the game, and he couldn't appear normally for a long time. But Chin Luo can't just disappear out of thin air. This kind of weird situation will only attract more attention and peeps at this time. The way Chin Luo thought was to let Tsunade's shadow clone replace him. Unexpectedly, Tsunade played more, and he turned into Chin Luo, and in front of him and Momosegi messed with Momosegi. Momosegi also looked very cooperative. This must have been a deliberate attempt to piss him off. Chin Luo angrily withdrew the hand that Momosegi and Tsunade clapped away. Why not let him take part in such an interesting thing? Who didn't want to watch the live broadcast of himself teleported to the arena first? In a small alley, Chin Luo took out the meat beads that Orochiwan gave him. The way this thing is used is by crushing it. The broken part swelled rapidly and turned into a fluid-like muddy flesh that wrapped Chin Luo's whole body along his arm. After a while, in the empty alley, the lump of flesh swelled to a certain extent and gradually formed the appearance of a fish man. The color of the flesh also changed from red to a stone-like taupe. As a pair of Huang Chungchung's fierce eyes opened, dark blue began to cover his body, and the fish-man monk, Yu Laozang, who practiced in North Blue reconnected. Yu Laozang is the tiger shark fishman, with a row of fins exuding a cold glow on the back and the back of the limbs. Compared to those on Fishman Island, the appearance of this fish Laozang is really super fierce. From the Kamui space, he took out the equipment that Orochimaru handed over to him, a yukata robe, a zen staff, and a large water tank on his back. Ask Chin Luo to give an evaluation of the first experience of Yu Laozang, that is, it is very strange. Originally Chin Luo thought that this kind of cross-dressing was similar to putting a coat over himself. But this is not the case. If Chin Luo said that, he seems to have completely become a fish man. Strength, physical sensation, and vision are all new. Chin Luo weighed the Zen staff in his hand. He didn't need to activate any abilities. The Zen staff weighing hundreds of pounds was as light as a wooden stick in the hands of Yu Laozang. Once you get up to play, it's not that easy to go down. Taking advantage of the time, Chin Luo didn't care whether it was suitable or not, and directly played a set of stick techniques in the alley. Every time he swung the Zen stick, the strong wind roared, making the house next to him feel shaky. At the end, Chin Luo jumped high and hit the ground with a heavy blow. With Chin Luo as the center, the ground about 10 meters sank down to a finger's distance. Chin Luo's movement was very loud, and it attracted the attention of passers-by and the owner of the house. However, after seeing that it was a certain Uncle Fishman, these people expressed that they couldn't be bothered. Of course, this did not prevent them from greeting Chin Luo from the bottom of their hearts. This idiot fishman is playing with snakes. He came to the residential area to perform acrobatics, so he can't count his weight and strength. When everything was ready, Chin Luo entered the arena with his new vest on. Yo, isn't this Yu Laozang? It's so early today. Along the way, there were constantly people biting their heads to say hello to Chin Luo, but no matter how you looked at them, their expressions were all reluctant. However, Chin Luo can probably guess the reason. Yu Laozang has a fierce reputation, and with Orochimaru's character, there is no possibility of greeting others with kindness. Chin Luo simply ignored it and found a corner in the players' lounge to sit down. From beginning to end, Chin Luo didn't say a word, and didn't arouse anyone's suspicion. Chapter 700 Idle Swordsman. After a while, the players basically arrived. Having never been to the players' lounge before, Chin Luo did not expect that there are factions in the lounge. That's right, where there are people there are rivers and lakes. Armed prosthetic users are grouped together, and are fairly easy to identify by their family. Around Doflamingo were officials of the Don Quixote family, and Corazon was among them. 3 heroes, of the red-haired pirates, Shanks, Beckman, and Mahawk were also surrounded by a group of people, all of whom were close to each other. Some of the remaining scattered people also grouped together according to their closeness and distance. Looking at it this way, the only people in the lounge are Yu Laozang and the orphan, captain played by Kuzan, both of whom are unwelcome existences. The event team arranged for a staff member to count the attendance of the players. In his place, Chin Luo saw that his battle times were ranked 7th in today's game, which was relatively high. However, Hawkeye's second game was him. In comparison, Shanks is very backward, basically ruling out the possibility of playing today. Don't watch the game, the audience is screaming, and the players' lounge is quiet and peaceful from beginning to end. No matter how gorgeous the sword move, no matter how shocking power, when you enter the lounge, you can take it with you with a sigh and a word or two of communication. Before the game, avoid major emotional fluctuations and keep calm. So everyone is Sima-mian, and no one speaks. Only one of the two who went out could return to the lounge in the end. As for the loser, no matter whether he was alive or dead, he would never appear in the lounge again. As the staff clicked on Mahawk's name, his game began. Hawkeye's opponent is also a swordsman. He is very famous in North Blue. He is a romantic figure with 2 labels, genius and famous. But no one is optimistic about this swordsman, because the label of Hawkeye is a bit different, the Great Swordsman. This is a man who is on his way to becoming the world's greatest swordsman. For him, genius is just a flash in the pan. There is such a saying in traditional kendo: if you look at a person with a sword, there is no equal. If someone looks at the sword, 9 out of 10. Hawkeye has never seen his opponent make a sword, but from the outside, he has silently given his opponent a failing score. A serious swordsman, where does he need to be dressed in snow white, with flowers on his head and accessories around his waist? Very handsome and dashing, but for swords, Hawkeye can't find any other use other than preventing him from slashing people. This is a fancy swordsman, and his swordsmanship must also be fancy. With the arrogance of Hawkeye, he is not willing to fight swordsmanship with such a swordsman at all. Regardless of the strength of the opponent this time, the level of respect received by Hawkeye is not as good as that of the snipers in the points competition. Hawkeye didn't intend to pull out the cross sword behind his back, but took out the knife in his arms. Could it be that the dignified Hawkeye wants to use a knife to insult his opponent? Seeing Hawkeye's action, the swordsman threw his bangs and pointed at Hawkeye and said angrily. A close-up image of Hawkeye and the handsome swordsman was playing on the big screen. Following the swordsman's movements, there was a burst of screams in the audience, mostly female voices. Zhanao, who is taking the path of idols? Hawkeye sneered, confirming his guess even more. My respect is given to real swordsmen, you are not worthy. Hawkeye's contempt was basically written on his face. Although Hawkeye didn't think his words could make the opponent lose his calm, it was probably the first time he had seen such a strange opponent. The swordsman was not annoyed at all, as if he had seen such a scene countless times. He said with a good feeling, I'm another person who makes a name for himself, and how can the splendor of my swordsmanship be felt by you ordinary people? It doesn't matter if you don't speak imposingly, the key is to be handsome. The swordsman of the idol school completely followed this policy. While speaking, he drew his long sword and stroked it like a lover. Decisively detonated a burst of screams from female fans. Chin Luo actually agrees with the idea that appearance is also combat effectiveness, but the problem of this idol-sending swordsman is not about appearance. The idol-sending swordsman continued to admire himself. Probably only Goddess Tayuya can understand the beauty in my swordsmanship. It doesn't matter if you're narcissistic, it doesn't matter if you follow the idol school, but why do you mention Tayuya when you die, and you're still in front of a swordsman who is struggling to pursue Tayuya? Hey, is it bad to live? Hawkeye is as uncomfortable as eating shit at the moment. He feels that his goddess has been desecrated by an actor, and he would rather be compared to himself, a clown-like existence, dare to compare himself to Duoyu. Yo, another suitor, the toad wants to eat swan meat and wants to go crazy, and he doesn't need the blade to shine on his face. Hawkeye's eyes narrowed directly. For some animals, their eyes are wide open to indicate anger, while for others, their eyes are closed to indicate the start of the hunt, such as the eagle. Switching the knife to his left hand, he drew out the long sword from his waist, and Hawkeye was ready to show more respect to his opponent. Of course, the main reason was that Hawkeye felt that the wound caused by the knife was not deep enough. Hawkeye didn't say a word, and substantive murderous aura began to permeate from him, lingering on the field. The Master of Ceremonies felt that something was wrong, and before announcing the start of the game, he felt that he added, "Death and serious disability are not allowed in the game, please remember the players." As for whether it is useful or not, the Master of Ceremonies can only do his best to ensure his destiny. At the beginning of the competition, the swordsman danced his sword to the sky, like the stars in the night covering the eagle's eyes. If it is at night, this sword move must be beautiful. But it was useless to look good. The eagle-eyed long sword swept left and right, and 3 consecutive sword chi wiped out the stars. The swordsman turned pale in shock. After avoiding the sword energy, he danced with the sword all over his body, circling the eagle eye. With long sleeves dancing, the swordsman made the sword smooth and plump. After speeding up, the sword light was like a bright moon, encircling the eagle's eyes from all directions. For a time, there was quite a sense of sight of the bright moon in the sky and the petals flying. Excellent sword dance performance. The swordsman's performance is praised by Eagle Eye. Of course, it can only be regarded as sword dance. Hawkeye almost laughed out loud. In order to look good, the swordsman added a lot of unnecessary swords and movements. This is a moon with holes all over its body, full of flaws and flowers. Seeing the essence of this move clearly, Hawkeye no longer dodged, and the black hockey wrapped the long sword. Black thunder flashed by. With a ding, the moon shattered.